This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Shooter Lube. You guessed it. Join the revolution by going to shooterlube.com to save 10% at checkout by using the promo code SINGER. That's right, shooterlube.com, checkout code SINGER. Right now, they have the Shooter Lube combo, 4-ounce bottle of solvent, a 20-ounce bottle of the oil for $19.95, and you save an extra 10% on top of that, and free shipping when you go to shooterlube.com and type in Singer at checkout to save 10%. It's a two-stage cleaning thing, you guys. So there's the military-grade cleaning solvent, and then there's the extreme weapons oil. With the new technology in the cleaning solvent, we got you guys cleaning your gun better than ever. The solvent's designed to penetrate deep into the metal, cleaning carbon buildup in less time than other leading solvents, and you can feel good knowing that you're cleaning your firearms with a product that passed military's testing. We set new standards so you can clean your firearm maintenance does not have to be banished to the garage or outside because of harsh chemicals and smells that other solvents use. It's odorless, no water, fully evaporates, leaves no residue, no hazardous ingredients per the EPA, has a high flash point, non-corrosive, does not freeze, and non-flammable. And you guys, that's just the cleaning solvent. The second thing is the weapons oil. Standard gun lubricants and CLPs, they're a thing of the past, you guys, because with the new cutting-edge technology, Shooter Lube is creating a new level of gun lubricant protection. Unlike many gun oils that just sit there on the surface, this weapons oil penetrates deep into the pores of the metal, and it forms a bond in and on the metal that doesn't wipe off, wear off, melt, or evaporate with heavy use. You can feel confident knowing you're using and protecting your weapon to its fullest potential from rust, corrosion, wear, all that shit. It's biodegradable, non-flammable, non-toxic, 100% synthetic, low odor, non-staining, rust, and corrosion protection. Plus, it does not wear. Plus, it reduces wear and friction. I do use this product, you guys. I use it on my guns. I actually just got a new cleaning kit, so I'm going to clean my guns again here. Super excited. Going to clean my new AR. Going to clean the shotguns. I do use this product, and I absolutely love it. I buy into the whole thing. So make sure you guys join the revolution and go to shooterlube.com and save 10% at checkout by using this promo code SINGER. All right. Also, this episode is sponsored by my own Patreon. Listen, we need the support, you guys. $3, $4.20, and $6.90. Those are the tiers. There is bonus content. And I will be putting out more bonus content on there. But for the most part, you guys, this is how we're able to keep the lights on. Maintaining equipment, replacing equipment, upgrading equipment. I want to hire staff, a producer, so on and so forth. Just make the overall product a more enjoyable experience for you guys. Kind of get rid of some of the lack of production. Get rid of the lack of production. Let's just be honest. There's no fucking production going on here because I don't know what I'm doing. And I suck at this. So I need help. That's how you guys can do that. Join the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/JaredSingerLive. All right. Today's episode of the podcast, my guest is John Gensmer. He has been on the podcast before. He's a longtime friend. He's a peer. One of the best drummers I know. Just a great human being. Very excited to sit down with him again. One of the few guys out there that has figured out a way to safely be a musician during the pandemic without slowing down. So without any further ado, welcome my friend John Gensmer to the podcast. Boom shakalaka, we are live, sir.
Hello.
Johnny Gensmer, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Thank you for doing this, man.
Hell yeah.
You're a busy motherfucker, so I appreciate it every single time. I know it's a big ask, even if we're friends. Doesn't matter. Getting 3 hours out of someone's day is a fucking... right now, it's working to my advantage, because guys are like, I would love... Well, I'm thinking more pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Guys are like, I would love to get the fuck out of my house for 3 hours, right?
Yep.
But there's still a lot of guys that are super busy, including yourself.
Yep.
And so I always appreciate you being here. And you look good, dude. Can I say that without being weird? You look good, man.
Sure.
You look healthy. You look strong. Like you're of good stock. That's what they used to say. I'm going to grab you a beer.
Right.
Do you want to try one of these shitty Minnesota Golds? Now, I think they're good, but it's just like light beer,
Yeah, it's a lager. I'll take it.
right? Or I got a couple more for you.
No, I'll take that. Okay. Oh boy. There goes my old trusty beer. I haven't had beer yet this year. Yeah. Nope, it's all good, man. It's my birthday in 2 days. I'll do what the hell I want.
We're going to share the Puff Tart. Oh, yeah. Yeah, buddy.
Great. But did they need to sit out now? We should keep them cold,
Yeah.
right?
Because if you don't like it,
Oh,
then you just don't have to drink it.
that's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
This one. Fancy.
There you go.
Cool, man.
We'll split the
Oh
Puff
my
Tart.
gosh.
Oh, it's good. It's very, very good. It's like blood red. I think they seen it when I was pouring it out. Cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
You ready? Woo! It's like a Sour Patch Kid.
I don't hate it.
It's like a Sour Patch Kid, bro.
It is.
Holy
It's
fuck.
liquid Sour Patch and something else. I'm trying to put my
Damn,
finger on.
that's good. This is Project Brewing or Brewing Project.
Is that a Minnesota brand?
No, unfortunately, they're from fucking Scotty, but they're doing some pretty cool shit out there, so I'll give them a pass.
Wisconsin does have some good stuff,
Yeah, I never like admitting when they do things well,
right?
you know, because they always rub it in our face.
They
We're
do.
better than you. Fucking the worst. Do you watch the Pat McAfee show?
No.
You know who that is?
No.
Used to be the punter for the Colts. Funny as hell. Started his own sports show. Used to be on Barstool Sports way back in the day. Just because they gave him a shot.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
It basically started off as a
You'd think I'd
podcast.
know his name, but
Fucking
it's
hilarious,
just
dude.
not registering.
He's hilarious. Justin Jefferson was just on there. And Pat McAfee's so cool. He's doing a podcast thing, but it's like a live radio show, right? So it's sort of like Howard Stern meets Dan Patrick meets Joe Rogan, right?
Okay.
Sort of. Like it's this weird thing. And he had Justin Jefferson on there, I think today. It could have been yesterday. But I just watched this clip before you got here. And so he's like, hey, Justin, so do you remember when you ran that route and Kirk Cousins missed you in the end zone and you told him to go fuck himself and the whole world heard it? And then the whole room kind of laughs and Pat's like, he's like, no, seriously, like I saw it. I watched it. Like he's like, you were mad and you walked over and you grabbed a microphone and you looked in the camera and you were like, you suck, Kirk Cousins, go fuck yourself. And I just could not believe that there's a current NFL player that is on an actual live, call it a podcast, because that's what it started out as, where there's people getting away with that now. And it just made me think,
Kind of awesome.
yeah, maybe the things are loosening up even with the Vikings, because it's like, okay. Because remember, I expressed concern about this. We don't have to go into details, but we talked about doing a podcast with a few other cats.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but if they're still working with the organization in any way, I'd worry that they'd get a little flack.
Yep.
And, well, apparently the Vikings are cool.
Just depending on what's in the room.
Right.
Because there were other factors too, like not only the
well, I would
organization.
never do drugs
No.
on the internet if
No.
that's what you're getting at. I would never
Oh man.
ever do that.
Oh.
CBD though, we smoke a lot of CBD on this podcast because we drink so much on this podcast that we're often inflamed, and CBD is great for inflammation. So
But it's a certain school that this person also works for.
that's right.
That's where things get fuzzy.
But there's
With the rules.
but there's another person who isn't currently affiliated with any pro sports team.
True.
Played a different sport.
He did.
That one we might be able to pull off. And since we've been doing this a lot longer now, when did you come on? I feel like you were episode 27 or
Yeah,
something.
sounds right.
God, we almost did it perfectly doubled. You're 52 now. If you were 27, hopefully you're 26. Somebody look that up if anybody's watching. Oh, look, we got nothing in the chat. Guess what? How much you want to bet? Live chat got turned off somehow. Watch. We were just joking about this before the See?
Oh
See?
my God, there it is.
See? I told you. We were joking about this before the podcast. No matter how many times I turn on live chat, when we actually start these podcasts, it gets turned off. And so I always have to go back in and relaunch it. It's so funny.
I'm going to put that on my FaceTube thing.
That's so funny. Let me make sure.
Live chat.
Let me make sure. But yeah, I just so is what I was saying is when we first started. Yeah, there we go. That worked. When we first started too, though, man, I was also just like my adrenaline was pumping on every podcast. Like it was hard to calm down and chill. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we did a good job of it. The podcast has been good from day one, but we've gotten a lot better at it. We've gotten a lot more chilled out and less chaotic. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think it'd be less of a big deal now versus 20 episodes or 30 episodes, whatever it was. You know,
yeah,
it's a totally different story now. It's a completely different ballgame. And we got some other cool shit. We got some other cool people I've been talking to. I still can't name a name. That's the craziest thing is we're talking about this and like, I can't drop any of these names until they come on the podcast because I don't want to be that guy. And number two, if it ends up not happening because of something, I mean, shit, you canceled last week because something came up. This happens all the time. So I don't want to be. And then luckily you were able to just reschedule 1 week later.
Yeah.
But some guys, it's 6 months later. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to drop names to build hype and then these people don't show up. You know what I mean? I just can't do it. I feel like it's I'm begging for a disaster. But last time you were here, what were we talking about? We were talking about, we got off track and there was a story about a show in a barn.
No, it was a rehearsal.
Did you go back and look in the comments?
I did, yeah.
There was also a story about a show in a barn we're supposed to finish up. And then I do have some questions.
I'm
if we hopefully we make it to all this stuff because there is actual stuff I want to talk to you about, stuff we didn't get to, didn't wrap up, didn't finish the first time around.
Okay, I just put this on my Wicked Garden page.
There you go. Nice.
Hopefully we'll get some more.
Well, join us if you guys are tuning in. It looks like we got a couple people watching right now. No, it's all good, dude.
That guy.
You told me what you're doing.
Yep.
I will set my phone aside though. I should plug it in. What kind of phone you got?
iPhone 11. What do you have? Same thing, right?
Same phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks identical.
If you want to plug your phone in, there's an extra charger right there, and it is on the fast charger.
I filled it before we got here.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember the thing about the barn we're supposed to go into, but you're saying there's something else. There was a rehearsal. There's a story about a rehearsal.
Well, yeah, it was when we were talking about basically. So we played the New England. This is with Epicurean. We played the New England Metal Fest, and then on our way back home, sort of, kind of, we stopped in Ohio, and it wasn't. I mean, this was intentional, obviously, but. We were we were set to record. So Metal Blade had asked us if we can add 2 songs to this album. So we were going to remix, remaster, so we could get the more continuity with the drum sound on the whole album.
Right.
And then we had this dude, Don DiBiase. That's who it was. Yeah. And he's God, he's a handful. So funny though. We were just we were in this barn just getting hammered and still rehearsing and trying to get these songs together, and he's sitting there in the middle of the room trying to produce it. And it was the next day when we went into the studio to record this song. I did it in like 3 takes, but the first take, he just came over the headphones because he didn't hear. This was lithograph that we're recording. He didn't hear all the crazy double bass stuff that I was doing in that one. And the first thing I hear he goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It was awesome.
Did he know about your band and your music before
He
that?
did. He did. So
what was surprising him in that moment? What was he so shocked about?
It was just like, I don't know. It was so much because I'm just doing this crazy pattern stuff all over the place, and I guess he didn't hear it in that rehearsal environment, so he had no idea what to expect. But he was just like, "Whoa, I had no idea." So we're trying to match.
Was he impressed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to get guitar matched up with it and stuff like that. But yeah. But afterwards, that was, man. We went up the hill to a bar, and I pretty much don't remember the rest of the night after that. It was horrible. But yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with this stream. Like, we got people tuning in, but it's just going up and down. We're not gonna stop the stream. Just keep watching. Just give me a second, you guys. I'm just gonna try to clean something up on the back end here.
What does that say on the bottom right?
On the bottom right here.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So this is my upload rate.
Oh.
Which is being mirrored, and we're being warned here. Right, and it should be rocking around 45 hundo, and that's when it'll be in green.
I see.
So
anyway,
don't log out, don't go anywhere. I'm just gonna keep watching. I'm just gonna shut this end down for a second. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't even change it. All right, and we're back, just like that.
Sweet.
And everything looks fine. So yeah, I'm just going to keep this over here.
Oh yeah, excellent connection.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep this over here. I don't know what's going on, but these updates between OBS updating, fucking not Windows, Mac updates and shit like that. I mean, I'm breaking cardinal sins here. You're not supposed to ever update anything, but it really usually almost always does make things better. But there's like a 1 week lag where something doesn't work right.
Of course.
And so right now, it prefers I just leave OBS over on that screen instead of keeping them both right here. But 2 days ago, it was fine.
Weird.
Computers.
Which screen you're on.
I think it's processing power and the way I have it hooked up, because I'm constantly trying to improve things and change things and tweak things. So, but it looks like I like to keep that one over here, so I'm not turning all the way around to check it. But
right.
It looks fine. What's up? Looks like Greg's tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, Greg. Looks like there's 4 other people watching as well. If you guys got questions, throw them in the chat. We will we'll try to work them in between lulls and breaks and shit like that. It's getting a little chaotic when we keep trying to like have legit conversations with chat, though.
Yeah.
I feel like the quality of the podcast has gone down dramatically from doing that. I want to save that actual pure interaction for like specials and shit like that, you know. Half the appeal of doing this podcast is the fact that it's just us. There's nobody else fucking around. There's nobody else distracting us. So, but we will get to those questions at some point in time. So go ahead and load them up in there. Thanks for guys tuning in. And if you don't know, this is John Gensmer. If you're just now jumping in, he's been on the podcast before, so we're not going to do the whole backstory. You can go back and watch that episode, but we are going to try to wrap shit up. So basically, Ted DiBiase's son, right?
No, he's like
nephew.
God, what is he? I don't know, like a second cousin of some sort. It's I don't know.
And his name's Dan DiBiase.
Don
DiBiase. Yeah. And he's fucking around with you guys on tour. Or just remind me again, how did you guys meet him or run into him?
We played this Indiana Metal Fest, and he saw us there, and that is how he was friends with Neil, who was from the HM Management.
That's right.
Yeah, and so he's kind of sort of how we got into the whole push our shit to Metal Blade thing.
And he was on tour with you guys.
He was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are playing this fucking
mostly
song.
because he wanted to yap with Mr. Metal Blade himself. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And you guys are working on the song Lithograph, which eventually ended up on that record, or that record.
Yep.
Yeah, because that record obviously wouldn't have been out yet if you were working on it.
Well, we had a original version of it without 2 songs. So Metal Blade asked that we just add 2 more, just to make it different.
So you were working on a different song for that record?
2 different songs.
Gotcha.
So we recorded it in Ohio. The original, I think it was 8 songs. Those were recorded in Iowa with Ari, and do not ask me to pronounce his last name.
Shafir.
Dude, it is so Greek. It's definitely, the
Galapagos.
One of those. And he's a cool dude. I don't want to say anything bad because his biceps are like this big, and he'd just come up to my house and just pop my head.
Don
like
DiBiase.
So I don't want to do that.
Don DiBiase.
No, Ari.
Oh.
He's the guitar player in OTEP now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. He was in Dystrophy. That was his band. Remember Dystrophy?
Yes.
Back in
The
day?
singer from singer. That's Ari.
Incredible singer, by the way.
From Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I learned so many lessons from those guys, not from like them taking me under my wing or anything like
Right.
that. No. Or taking me under their wing. No. From watching all of their shows go as badly as humanly possible. Do you remember he had the brain? That giant box.
Yeah. The box,
and it was supposed to control everything.
Yeah, lights.
It never worked. I never once seen a Dystrophy show where the brain actually worked properly.
I saw it.
And I just remember every show, him and that band having a meltdown because something wasn't working. Like the stress level that was so high in their show. Every show, I would be like, dude, that was fucking amazing. That was a great show. Because I met him and talked to him several times,
Yeah, he's super nice.
And he's like, oh, we were missing this though. It didn't work. Like, da 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 da. And there was always so basically he was constantly telling me that I never seen the real version of his band. So instead of me being like, okay, if you're ever going to do that, do it right. I learned, don't fucking do that. Like, don't rely so heavily on this technology to be a member of your band. Like, figure out a way to make your music so just you and your instruments have to work. The more shit you add, the more things can go wrong.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you kind of understand this probably to a little bit of a degree now with the different bands you're in, with all the lighting and all the other shit you have as part of your rig. It's just like, it's not only more shit to set up and tear down, dude, but it's just another thing that goes wrong. And if you're not an expert, a tech in that field with enough time, now you're either missing a light and you have to like pivot, or you have to have extra ones there, or you have to have somebody on the ground who can fix it and get it There's just too many things that can go wrong, man. Like getting ready to play a live show is stressful enough as it is.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to. I have a very, very minimalist setup when it comes to that kind of shit,
In Arch Allies, we have one guy who sets all that stuff up and runs it, Tim, and he's he sets up his little programs, but it's not dependent on this song is going to run like this and you need to set it to a click. We never took it that far, because you can, and I think the technology got a little better because it's Ableton Live that you can do that with.
Yep.
Now you just set the MIDI and it does different things for the lights and stuff too.
Yep.
But I haven't tried it. Yeah, it's too complicated. And in Wicked Garden, I was kind of doing the same thing with the lights. Because I didn't have enough shit to bring with my drum set. So I decided, all right, if we need to keep going with more lights on the show, fine. I'll take care of it. I'll buy them. I'll do this and that. So I ended up the drummer and light guy, and it was stupid. And there have been a couple shows where I literally have a laptop to my left, and I'm just hitting. I had it set up where it would just change programs if I hit the space bar. So I'm like playing a groove and like, okay, here's the chorus.
See, but that's
so
where
stupid.
But that's where it's at, man.
It was so stupid.
But you can, in that Ableton Live shit too, you mentioned. Like, I know a little bit about that from working at GC, and then my buddy upstairs, he's obsessed with it. Like, dude, you can MIDI that up to a complete set of pads, and instead of just like hitting a pad for an electronic drum sound, you can have it cue entire sections of pre-recorded music.
Yep.
So like you said, you don't need everything to run on a click. You can have a lighting program. It's DMX lighting, right?
It is, yeah.
And then DMX lighting through Ableton, you can queue up a certain lighting program. And so only that part is queued up. And it's not even to a click. You just have this program run for when this backing track plays, and you cue that up because you're going da 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 boom, and it starts off as soon as you hit that pad. It plays a bass drop, and then a backing track, and then the lights dim, and all that's controlled, and then you just
But it's still set to a tempo. You do have to set it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like you said, it's not the whole song doesn't have to be played perfectly to a click, and then hopefully, if it all works right, somewhere in the middle, around bar 129.
Don't fuck up.
Right, because if I fuck this up, that thing's gonna come in off key or off tempo.
Off tempo.
Oh, it's
or you flip the beat. I've seen that before.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna name the band, but because one of them's a good friend of mine, and I'm also in like 2 bands with him. But
everyone just figured it out. By the way, anybody who knows you literally went,
just figured it out.
It's this guy.
You're right. That was stupid.
You might as well just say his name at this point, so the rest of us can be in on the joke.
It was this band's first show, and I remember the drummer flipped the beat, and they're playing to a click.
In case anyone's confused, what do you mean by flipping the beat?
Like instead of being the snare being on 2 and 4, all of a sudden he's on 1 and 3. And I just remember this dude, he turns around and he looks at him and he's like, trying to direct him, like, get back on the click. And then as soon as you did that, it was like a chorus change. And then he hit, I mean, I've been there. I've done that a couple times where it's like, it's so embarrassing. And then you have to you just have to think about like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then flip it again. And it's that whole mindset that you get into in a frenzy, like, oh my God, how am I going to fix this?
Yeah.
He pulled it off though, because dude was sitting in front of him, like directing him. And this is in front of a lot of people, by the way. So
that's
was like,
fucking funny.
It was,
also
you felt
terrifying.
for him, but yeah, terrifying. And that was the only hiccup. And I was just like, oh man, that's the trouble with playing to a click live.
Crazy.
With backing tracks, you can do that.
So let's try to do some justice here and finish up that first story. So basically, you guys are on tour.
The setup is so weird, though. I don't even think it's a good story anymore.
Right? This is why I was trying to explain to other people. They're like, oh yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that, you need to do more of this and less of that. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with everything you said, but it's almost impossible to actually do and then still have the podcast be enjoyable.
Right. Or get back into it like the way it was and how it came up, and enjoy the humor that set up the joke, whatever's happening. Yeah,
it's really difficult. It's so difficult to try to do. But there was a story about a show in a barn that you were gonna tell this story, and I cut you off. So that one we never told.
But it wasn't a show. It was that one. It was the rehearsal. We were just rehearsing in this barn.
Oh, you were in the barn. Okay, so we didn't.
It was in the middle of nowhere.
So they weren't
Ohio.
two different stories. They were the same story.
They were the same story. Yeah. See, it's not even good anymore.
It's so fucking weird. But now I'm confused. So what was the context? So you're on tour with this dude, and what were we even talking about this for? Because it was Don DiBiase.
Yep.
So there was significance because it was Ted DiBiase's.
Yeah, we were talking about wrestling, and then somehow
you're like, I went on tour with his.
Yeah, I don't remember.
His cousin.
His brother, yeah, his cousin from whatever.
Oh. I do have a question for you.
I like that a lot.
Isn't it good?
I need to show this to if my wife is watching.
Yeah, this is your camera.
This is my camera?
Yep.
Oh my God. Buy that.
There's another one.
Find it.
You want to try another one?
Sure.
All right. There's another one. Dude, and they have a third one too called Smoothie. And the Smoothie is it's banana, a little bit of peanut butter, some apple. And I swear to God, dude, that one's like a shake. It's thick. Like, I poured the first one out and I was like, oh, I thought this would be a little, more whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I realized how heavy the can was. Like halfway down, I'm like, this doesn't feel like half a beer. The weight's off. So I dumped it, and this goop came out.
Oh God!
This goop came out, and it was just like this puree, this banana, fucking peanut and peanut butter and apple puree. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. So I like spun it in the glass and kind of mixed it back up and took a drink of that. And I was like, holy fuck, this is a completely different thing. So the next one I opened, I did the old craft beer trick. You know, you turn it upside down, you roll it. You don't want to shake it.
I don't think I've ever heard of that, but thank you for that
So
information.
if you've ever drank like a craft beer that's an unfiltered beer, and you
gotcha.
hold up the bottle, you'll see a bunch of sediment at the bottom.
I'm
a
following.
thick sediment.
Yep.
So what you do is you hold it upside down before you open it, and you gently roll it back and forth. Pretend this is upside down for the viewers. You gently roll it back and forth in your palm. I don't know why this fucking thing isn't switching. Here, I'll go like that. So you gently roll it back and forth in your palm, but upside down, and it just slowly gets that shit mixed in there without you shaking the beer. And then and then when you pour it out, you actually get that super cloudy, unfiltered beer. That's why it's unfiltered.
Yeah, gotcha.
But a lot of guys, they refrigerate that shit. It gets stuck at the bottom, and then they just dump it out. And then all what makes that beer significant is sitting at the bottom of your bottle, and you don't even know. And it's a whole second level of like flavor profiles and smells, and it's cool, man. It brings a whole. But I didn't get that one tonight.
That is fancy.
I got us the regular Puff Tart, and then I got us the Puff Tart XL. I'm gonna grab the other one. I'll be right back.
It's so good.
It is really good, isn't it?
I can't even believe it. I hate fruity beers too, but this is amazing.
I know, right? It's like beer blasphemy. Do you know we're
Spilling shit. Dude, that's a respectable beer fridge. You got like good stuff in there.
I mean, I got options.
Yeah, you have options.
This is the same price as Coors Light. So like a 12 pack of this is $12.99.
Oh.
Same thing with this. 12 pack of this. The only difference is they're tall boys. And they're both local Minnesota breweries. So
That's awesome.
I like these as like my cheap beer staple for the podcast. I'm hoping one of them will hook me up with a sponsorship soon. But this is the other one, dude. So this is the same as the Puff Tart, but it's the Puff Tart XL.
What makes it XL? It looks like the same size to me. God, such a dad joke.
I think it's slightly higher alcohol content.
Great, just what I need. With mango, kiwi, and vanilla. Damn.
Well, to be fair, this one was raspberry, blackberry, and blueberry. So here, I'll split this one up for us. Is that gone? I don't know if it says it on here. They don't all do it. It's weird. I don't understand why certain companies do and certain companies don't. Like, why would you not put the alcohol? Oh, it's stamped in.
Oh.
So this one looks like it's 4.7 alcohol by volume. Let me see if I can find it on this one. So it's right there. It's been rubbed off. It's been rubbed off.
There's no way I can read that.
Yeah, not on this one. On this one, you could read 4 point something.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Something.
That, yeah.
7. Yeah, whatever. So I do have a question for you. So I remember you and I were hanging out, and I think we talked about this story on the previous podcast. You and I were hanging out at Area 52, but we weren't hanging out in the main room or in the hallway or in the common area, none of that spot. We were down, so remember we had the main room, and then there was the actual A52 room, then there was the long hallway, and we were in all the way to the end to the right. We were in somebody else's space over there.
Not Ashmedeva's space?
Maybe. It was either that or it was like AC's space from TC Bands. That's who hosts the website, by the way. Yeah, I went back through TC Bands. They're still a thing. If you guys are looking for hosting for websites, go to tcbands.com. That's where I get the pricing. It's still the best out there.
That's badass.
It's yeah, he's still doing it.
I need to do this with other sites that I have. Yeah.
Oh shit! I forgot. I got to give you one of these. I just opened it. I knew I was gonna want a whole one.
That's fair.
Like, oh, if you like that.
All right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna split this up, and then I was like, oh, I'm not. I'm just gonna drink a whole one. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. But yeah, I remember we were hanging out in that space, and I remember. I don't even remember if I actually asked you this question directly, but you were like, well, there's a trick. One of the things I do, why people think my fills are so fast, and you were the first person who taught me the da da gung gung kaka gung gung kaka gung gung kaka super fast, super, and then you were like, and then you just switch down the toms. And you're like, and then you can come down the toms, come back up to center, and I was like, it was the first time drumming wise, my mind was like, this was so long ago. I'm not gonna ask you to give any secrets away like that.
It's not
because most of that shit,
literally every drummer now knows that.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. You were, but back
20
then,
years ago, yeah, it was.
And
like,
it wasn't even a secret. You were like, I'm not actually that fast.
Yeah.
You were like, because everyone was so confused why your fills. Nobody could do fills like you were in there. It was like you were like
a handful.
It's a trick.
Yeah,
like I'm tricking people. The secret is they don't understand. There's this other thing I'm doing. And then yeah, you're right. Now everybody does that shit. Now between that and YouTube and everything else, but.
And it's been nicknamed the Mike Portnoy fills now.
There you go. Yep. The Portnoy fill. Yep. But, and you can go find shit like that on the internet anywhere, all over YouTube. But is what people can't do is get some tips or tricks on practice techniques that you might specifically do, especially if somebody's a fan of you or one of your bands and they're interested in checking in. That is something I am curious, because I like to talk about that with other people, but I haven't done a good enough job of getting into that shit. Because again, like I said, you come on the podcast, it's like, oh, we have 3 hours. How are we possibly going to fill 3 hours? And then it's like 3.5 hours later, we should probably shut this down.
Right. Yeah, because we're just going off on stories and stuff.
Yeah, right. So it's like, okay, well, when you come back on next time, maybe I'll remember to ask that. And it is definitely something that's on my mind, because I'm trying to get back into practicing both my guitars and my drums. And there's certain things I have like burnt into my brain, but I'm a little burnt out on them, you know?
Do you have a Questlove kit?
It's technically not mine, but yes, that is exactly what that
badass.
is. The Questlove breakbeat kit. Yeah, one drum is sitting directly below John for the listeners that are confused. That's actually technically Kevin's kit. But yeah, it's a pretty cool kit. And if you tune that thing properly, it actually sounds pretty incredible.
I remember hearing someone for the first time ever at a Guitar Center tuned a drum set well. And I remember hearing that kit and I was like, damn.
Dude, I think I was there. I think I remember this. I think you came to the Edina Guitar Center.
Yeah, it was Edina.
And I guarantee you that was Joe Engel in the drum shop who did that.
You're right.
100% certain.
You were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Because we were all like, wait a minute, you got that kit to sound like that?
Exactly.
And he's like, y'all don't even get it. You throw some decent heads on this motherfucker. This is a beast of a kit.
Yep.
And we were like, you're right. Because that's all he did is he bought a fucking breakbeat kit. It was his own. Then he brought it into the store and then bought heads. And then in the store, put the heads on and tuned the kit. And we were all just happened to be there watching. Dude, that guy.
It was incredible sounding. I'm like, I want one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up buying the Sonar version of it.
Yep. And it probably didn't sound as good.
It was like $200.
And it probably...
Actually, the toms don't sound as good, but the kick is, for a 16, it's a beast somehow.
Well, and for me, it was like, I'm not Joe.
Right.
Like, Joe is so good at tuning drums. It's ridiculous. But he has also a sound and a style.
Wow.
Like, he really dials those in to a specific way, right? So, like, when I was trying to get him and some other cats to help me dial in my drum tone for the Tyrants, the rock band, they actually led me down. All of the experts that I knew led me down the wrong path. And it was so funny because once they actually came and heard the version of my kit that I built, they were like, okay, listen, none of that is supposed to sound good together, especially with that style music. But your kit sounds amazing. It cuts through the mix perfectly. Like somehow I was able to piece together, because they all advised me to go with like really dry cymbals, which would make sense for a rock band,
I still like bright and shimmery.
Me too. It's like I want to hear like I'm fucking breaking glass almost.
Yep.
Like,
me too.
Yeah. That's what a cymbal's supposed to sound like. And same thing with the snare. They were like, you should go with something, softer and drier and, punchy, but like, and I was I'm like, no, I want a slap. I need a snap. I need a crisp attack. It took me forever, but I figured it out, and like it just slowly but surely, I figured out how to get my kit to sound good in my band. But Joe was one of those guys, man, that could sit on any kit and just get it to sing. Right? It may not sound the best with a metal band or this style band, but just getting any kit to just generally sound good, especially by itself, with no other instruments. I'm still to this day, I'll give it to Joe Engel.
So I feel like over the years I've kind of developed this talent as well, because I remember having a practice at our fill-in bass player for Arch Allies, Tom Gorski. We'd go to his house and he's got a 90s Pearl Export, and going in I knew immediately what it was going to sound like, just because I've heard 1,000 export kits before,
right,
and how to make it sound better.
Sure.
So I brought in my own drum heads.
Smart.
And I'm like, thank you for letting me use this kit. I'm going, and these were just lightly used drum heads, because I've gone through a lot of drum heads on my my Mapex Saturn kit, just because I wanted to trial and error what are the best drum heads for this kit. So anyway, I tuned it up, got these I went with Aquarian reflectors on the batter side. And then another fun trick, kids, is in your floor tom, put some cotton balls in there. You can get up to 8 or so in a 16, 14 or 16. You can
cotton balls.
You just dump them in there. And what happens is eventually they kind of thin out.
Right.
And what happens is it's like a pillow.
Right.
So when you hit it, it lifts up and you get the immediate attack of the bottom head. So make sure that thing is tuned as well. But then it rests on it nicely, where it just
interesting.
Yeah. And this is instead of putting moon gel on it or something, and then it's automatically just dead.
And
it lets it resonate quick, and then like quickly, and I feel like appropriately.
Because that's always the problem, right? Is the floor tom boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And one of the that's what mine sounds like raw. Mine goes boom.
Yep.
Boom. Like they sound like shit.
Yeah.
But when I kick in with a full band, my drum kit cuts through the mix, and people are like, dude, your drums sound amazing. And it's so, I think I told you this before, every sound check, it's like, it's so fucking predictable. It's like clockwork. Some sound guy goes, what's wrong with your drums? And I go, just trust me. And he goes, dude, I've been doing this a long time.
Yep, you heard it.
I've never heard anybody say that sounds good. And I go, I know they don't sound good now, but wait until we do the full band check, and trust me, you're going to come up to me and you're going to be like, you were right. Those sound great.
Right on.
And they sound like shit when it's just me.
Really?
Yeah, they sound so bad. But it's all about cutting the frequencies through the mix. And believe it or not, it's a lot like guitar. You sounding good in your bedroom by yourself is not the same way you should dial in your guitar when you go to the rehearsal space and you're playing with a full band. It's not the way you should dial in your guitar when you're playing live in a large room versus a small room. It's not the way you should dial in your rig when you're in the studio.
But isn't that up to the front of house guy?
Those guys definitely, it's like having a sound guy and an engineer in the studio. They compensate for it and they do extra work.
Right.
So like all the skill that I put into getting my guitar rig to sound great, my tone, right? There's another dude in the studio who is an expert at getting your tone to actually sound good on record, which is not the same tone that you dial in live. And same thing for drums.
That I'm used to. Yeah.
It's all the same idea.
Yeah.
You can make it easier on those guys by having your shit dialed in, not necessarily better or worse, but a way that they already know and they're comfortable with. That's the difference, right? So most sound guys are trained that this is the way a drummer should sound when I'm sound checking them, because now I know how to dial it in. But just through years of experience and luck and getting the right knowledge from the right people, I figured out how to get us to dial in our rig so when we're in that rehearsal space, it sounds good enough for us to enjoy it and think it sounds good, but we're actually, everything's dialed in to play in a live venue with microphones amplifying everything as well. And that was really crucial because, like, some guys, how do you feel about this? Do you tune your drums to a key?
No, fuck no.
See what I'm saying? There's people that would be like, no, they need to be, because that's the right way. And I'm basically is what I'm getting at is this whole right, wrong way, good, bad, blah, 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 blah. It's like, do you know how to make it sound good? Like, if my drums sound like shit right now, a good sound guy does not need me to retune my drums. Maybe you fucking throw some tape on the bottom like Spanbauer used to do because your drums aren't tuned right. I just need you to get rid of this frequency for me, and then I'll make it all sound great. That's why Spanbauer was the man.
I was going to say, he wasn't wrong.
Right. That's what my point is, right? He knew how to make it sound good.
He did.
Right.
I remember when I brought in my kit, and he was... where were we? Oh, Route 47, of course. We were at Route 47, where he's the sound guy there now. Like, I brought in a Mapex Armory. This is a mid-range kit. It's got maple shells with it's a maple inside, and then the outer and inner are birch. And for the price range, it's actually an incredible sounding drum set. And I just remember I went in there and brought this kit in. I had it tuned up nice, and he just goes, right after sound check, he's like, "Those are perfectly tuned. Thank you."
Right. That all that meant is he didn't have to do anything.
He didn't have to do shit. He just turns the mic on and goes, "All right."
Maybe a little compression, right?
Well, yeah, of
little
course,
reverb, yeah. Well, but those are that's not work. That's literally post effects,
right?
Like that's not that's not work. That's not. Oh God, yeah. So one trick to the trade is on all your heads except your snare head, your bottom tom should be tighter than your top. Your batter head should be looser than your resonant head, correct?
Some people prefer it that way. I don't.
So what do you do on your toms?
I try to get it to an even pitch where they're about the same.
Tension?
Pitch, because they're different thicknesses of heads. I do a 2-ply on the top.
So you actually
and
tap the bottom head?
Oh yeah. I'll sit there and just mess with it until it sounds good. But sometimes I've noticed that the bottom heads, especially on like the 10 and 12, they'll have some weird pitchy issues. And then then I'll sit there and tap it until it sounds good. And that's where I have found that yes, you can go higher pitched, and then you're looking for like a minor third above whatever.
Gee, see, that's already science-y for me.
Right? It's stupid.
That's so inside baseball for me. For me, it's just like I figure out approximately a feel. Now that I kind of know where the pocket I want to be in, now I just get a kind of a feel on the top head. I have one of those torque wrenches.
Oh, sure.
So, or torque key, whatever you want to call it.
Those will get you right where pretty close where you need to be.
Yeah. And then once I'm in the ballpark, right? Then I just even them out on top. And then I just find wherever that is. And then I just go to my torque key and I just go 1 or 2 notches tighter. And then I just spin it through the bottom. And that's how I do my bottom heads. And it seems to work out virtually flawlessly every time.
Okay.
Virtually. The only time I have any issues is because I use those.
I'm going to try that.
I use those EMADs.
Yeah.
The dual coat with the gel in the middle. So
No,
when I have my issues, it's on the top. It's on the batter head.
EMAD is the Evans kick with the
Oh
rim.
yeah. What am I thinking? The fucking God damn it!
Is it Evans?
It's probably Evans. Yeah.
Which one is that?
Somebody's gonna know. The GC2. Is it the GC2?
Well, there's G2. That's just regular clear or coated. I used to play G2 coated for a long time. Oh, EC2.
The EC2.
Yes. EC2.
The EC2s.
They have that ring.
Yep, and they're clear, but they have this gel in the middle, which just dampens them. But the way I play them,
gel in the middle.
Yeah, if you press on it, you can actually see the gel move. It's beautiful. It's the thinnest, most. It's like an oil. There's a liquid in there.
Weird.
Yeah, and dude, I'm telling you, man, when you get those fuckers tuned, and the point of them is, like, I highly endorse these if you're a hard hitter, because the life extension is dramatic in these heads. Like, you're probably never going to go through the head. You know how we go through heads? You'll just straight out go through it. Never happen. You'll beat the sound out of the drum head before you go through it.
That's just how I play usually, is I'll beat the sound out of it before I'll ever break it.
So you're not a puncher?
I've broken some snare heads before, unfortunately, because for snares, a lot of people, they'll go with a 2-ply and maybe even a power dot. But for me, I really love the sound of a single ply on a snare with a power dot, sometimes without. Just give me a regular Aquarian classic clear on the top, or I guess just texture coated, or a Remo Ambassador.
You know what my favorite snare head is?
No.
It's I think it's called an HD dry, but I don't think that's actually
Evans.
But I don't think that's actually the literal drum head.
Yeah, it's HD dry.
Well, that's definitely one I've used.
There's ST and HD.
Right. And
the difference is 1 and 2 plies.
Right. But that may not be the actual one I'm thinking of.
That's a great drum head, because
it
has
is
tiny little holes in
Okay, that is the one yes. Okay. It's got okay. So I am talking about the HD dry.
Yep.
And I don't know if I'm talking about the single or the dual. I'd have to literally go look at what I found. But yeah, it's got the pinholes, which allows just enough air to escape back up through the head as you hit it, so you don't get the same level of reverberation in the physical drum head, which dampens down both the overall volume, in my mind, and the ping. So, like, I hate that ping. And when I talk to other drummers, this is not an argument. It's not a debate. We all admit it's pure preference.
Correct.
And it also can change on the band you're jamming with or listening to. So I could say I hate the ping, except for when John does it in this band. It's the perfect drum tone. But I would never, right? Or you could say the same thing. I would never put that fucking ping in my snare drum, except for the way Jared does it in the Tyrants. That just little hint of it, like you can almost hear it, but you can't. Lee's one of those people, I think, if I remember right. She likes just a little ring in there. Lee Underwood, know Lee, right?
Of course.
Are you going to that show?
Foo Fighters?
Yeah. Are you going?
I think so. I'm going to try to get out there.
I'm going. Dude, I have to. It's not even my show, but I'm excited to just like finally go out after doing that. That'll be the first show I've gone to.
Really?
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Since I started the podcast, just because of the pandemic. I'm just excited to just be out there and like.
Yeah.
I hope somebody tries to pull some crazy shit in front of me just so I'll tell the story on my podcast. Like, I'm such a selfish prick. Like, I hope somebody gets like kneecapped. They're like, Jared, watch this. You don't know that. It's Northeast. Right. Oh, wait, no, this is not at Mayslax. Yeah, it's Fridley. Oh, I'm probably getting kicked out of that place. Every time I go there, I get kicked out.
How?
It's always a different thing. It's always a different random thing. Last time I think it was the Skywine show. Last time. In fact, not only do I think Skywine played, but I think I played that night. So
that makes sense. Getting kicked out if you play.
That's the opposite of making sense. But I might be convoluting or conflating the last 2 times I got kicked out. So one time, I think this was the last time. I'm pretty sure it was a Skywine show because Rich was playing drums and we're backstage, that huge giant backstage area, not the green room. You know what I'm talking about. Not the green room. The big back room. Yeah, the big backstage
There's a
room.
bathroom and then there's like a whole
like a
caged area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back there just ripping bowls, right? We're smoking some weed. And it's my weed, but I'm not smoking it. It's on the other side of the room being passed around, right? And literally the security guard from the venue comes up and he's standing there and 2 other people take it and hit it right in front of him and pass it. And then it comes to me. And so I take it and I hit it. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, we're smoking weed, dude. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm smoking weed like everyone else is. And he's like, you got to go. And I was like, what are you talking about? Everyone here is smoking pot. Why are you singling just me out? And he's like, you're the only one I saw. I was like, dude, you were standing there for like 3 minutes. These other 2 people smoked it right in front of you and offered it to you. And you said no. So they handed it to me. And I took it and hit it. And you kicked me out for it? Like,
that's weird.
Just tell me not to do it and I won't.
He had it out for you.
I've never met this dude before, dude, but it was hilarious. I snuck back in. I didn't dude, does he know who he tried to kick out? Like everybody in that building wanted me there. Like I wasn't causing trouble.
Do you know who I am?
I actually said that to him.
Did you?
Yeah. I was like, do you even know who I am, bro? I was like, I'm not the guy you want to kick out. Like, I'm not causing trouble. Everyone here loves me. And like, I'm going to be back in this building. That's funny. At some point in time. And he's like,
and I'm going to come back up and hump your leg.
Well, I don't even remember what he said, but I was like, for real, dude, like, you don't have to kick me out. Like, you really don't want to do this. Like, this is not the best move to make right now. I was pulling all the moves, but not in a douchey way. I was doing it in a cool way. And he's like, well, let me put it this way. I'm kicking you out. But if you somehow make it back in the club, then I know you were right and you're cool. And sure as shit, like, I never actually left. I just fucking... I was
going to say...
Like, I literally
Did you walk out the back and walk back in?
I walked out the front and literally just turned around and walked right back in the back door because they're like, well, yeah, it's like 100 yards. I never left. I never got kicked out. But yeah, I get kicked out of there for a different reason every time. And they're always completely random like that. I'm never causing trouble. I never get in fights. Like, there's just something about Route 47. They kick me out for a different reason every time.
So You're in this back room, which, by the way, there are 2 rear doors. There's the main one where is the green room, and then the one next to it is the room we're talking about. There's a bathroom, and then there's that random room we're talking about.
Yep.
He walked you from said random room all the way to the front to kick you out?
Correct. Yep. And during that entire walk is when I'm going, dude, listen to me. Like, you do not want to kick me out, bro. I was like, listen, you don't know who I am. It's cool.
That far to walk you out the front.
I know, he could have just kicked me right out the back door.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, you do not want to kick me out. I was like, dude, you don't know who I am.
If
I'm not that
you
guy.
Make it back. Sure. How about this door? As soon as it'll take me
I know.
30
and the door
seconds.
was wide open too. That was the best part. Like, it wasn't even closed. I didn't even have to wait till somebody came out. Like, it was wide open. I just walked back in.
You know why?
And you know what I did? I think I just took my coat off and took my hat off. I think I set them in my car and just took my coat and my hat off. And it took all night for that guy to recognize me. And when he did recognize me, he saw me again and he was pissed. And he was like, well, I don't know how you got back in, but apparently someone likes you.
How'd you get back in? I kicked you out from the back. Wow.
I hate that place, but I also love that place.
See,
I need him to set me up one of those VIP booths in the corner, though.
When when was this? Because now
The last summer, 2019.
well, last summer is 2020.
No, last summer, not this most
20
previous summer.
Okay,
Not this last summer. Like
see,
last
that's
summer.
still weird because Joe Spanbauer is still the sound guy. Was the sound guy in 2019?
He wasn't that night.
Oh, he wasn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh, bummer. Because
I don't know who was running sound.
because the lighting guy, he's always there, and he's still using old school lights, like the cans that burn your neck off the whole bit, right? But he's got a few of those mirror flippy things that look awesome. I don't remember what the hell they're called. But dude, he's been doing this so long that he makes that look like a ridiculous modern light show, right? He's so good at it. He's always there. And every time I'm there, if you go near the booth, it smells like a Cypress Hill concert. So how the fuck did the security guard get pissed off when the lighting guy literally is like, you know why the door was open? Because he was outside smoking weed.
Right? It's so funny, dude.
Every time, dude.
It's so funny because like it was like we weren't just backstage. We were backstage of backstage.
Yeah,
there's like two different
exactly
backstages for the,
yeah.
But you know, a lot of listeners don't. So there's backstage, which is directly off the venue. So if you're in that room smoking pot, yeah, it's a bad idea. Like it's gonna waft into the crowd, like blah 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 blah.
Smell it, yep.
And even if you're in that back room, people are still gonna be like, where the fuck is this smell coming from? But nobody can see anyone smoking weed. Nothing is gonna happen. Right. Like people are like, wow, it smells like weed. Somebody must have went out and smoked a fat one. Somebody leave a door open.
Guy.
That's it. Boom. End of story. For you to come back that far into the building and grab us and like actually act like it's an issue, like you're just on one. Yeah. Like you're just in a mood.
Nobody does that anymore. It's weird. That's weird.
It's so stupid. It was so dumb. And that's the thing is we were ripping bowls. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like we were back there smoking blunts, which is a way stronger smell. We were smoking bowls, dude. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
so maybe it was coming in. You guys smoked out the room so much that it's coming up and under and through under the drum riser.
Well, if I'm being honest,
drummer's fucking up, and he's
if I'm being honest, I think all the doors were open. So like the green room door was open, that extra door was open, that back door was open. So yeah, we were probably wafting right out in there. Somebody was probably mad we were all back there partying instead of out there
Cypress
drinking
Hill
beer.
Concert.
That you ever remember that one? When they try to, it'd be like a weird night at a venue, and somebody would try to come clear out backstage because we were back there partying and having fun and smoking weed or doing whatever, and they wanted us out in the other room.
At
so
Route
we'd
47?
No, just at random venues.
Oh.
I remember it happening a couple times at Star Central.
I was going to say Star Central was always that venue.
Yeah, they would like try to kick us out of our own backstage. Get out of here.
And the area is huge, and you're just like,
yeah,
nope.
And like after a while, we were like, dude, fuck you.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine. And it was like, oh, okay, like that was it. God, what was that dude's name?
The place was amazing.
What was that dude's name? That head security guard, the big dude with the goatee. He hated me. It was like Jamie or something like that. He hated me for so long. And then all of a sudden on a dime, like one night, he went from hating me to loving me. Like we had some sort of conflict in interaction. And instead of it going south, he was like, all right, dude, you're cool. Because he could have, dude, good. He was an actual giant. That guy was like 6'8", something like that. Because he was bigger than everyone.
Okay, yeah.
You remember this dude?
Yep, now it's
he always wore a hat.
Yep.
And he had a goatee, and he was a literal giant.
Yeah, it was huge.
And God, if you guys remember his name, if anybody's still watching this, I know the numbers say there's only a couple people still in here, but I also know I've watched that number go up and down pretty rapidly. If you guys remember the name of the security guard I'm talking about at Star Central, big dude, goatee,
dude,
wore a hat.
Hold on a second. So you had to redo this? I noticed that we still only have Greg's things. So did the live chat go off again?
I don't think so.
Or are we just that boring? No, it's good.
It might have turned off. No, it's still on.
Oh, it's still on.
It's still on. Yeah, there's just not a lot of people watching right now. People check in for 20 minutes. They'll check back in later.
They got tired of the...
I mean, we've had 39 people jump in and watch us. So, but yeah, I mean, this isn't riveting, hard-hitting news here, you guys. We're just hanging out, having a podcast. Yeah, and we're going super inside baseball here. So the drummers are loving it.
Yeah, and all the everyone else.
Which is fine. This is what I'm trying to explain to people, though. This is the point of the podcast. So to get back kind of where I started this is like, do you have any like sneaky practice techniques or warm up techniques or things? Because I'm trying to get back into it, right? I gotta start stepping up my game again, and unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have a heavier hand in writing the drums on my own album than I initially wanted to. I was trying to just be a guitar player, and it's just not happening. You know, drummers are busy. They're in a million bands. I can't get any of them to get their jobs done. So
that's unfortunate.
I'm going to either have to hire somebody, which is going to cost me a fortune, or I'm going to have to at least have a heavier hand in writing the parts, and then just finding somebody to either do me a favor and track them real quick. Like, you don't have to do anything. Just literally cover these drums, just make them better, or pay somebody at least a lesser rate to track those drums, but now they don't have to worry about writing them as well. So it's like, okay, I still got to pay you, but it won't cost me a fortune because now I'm not paying you to write music with me. You know, like a rapper. Right. Like, fuck, man, going rate in the industry is like $5,000 a track for a guest appearance. Yeah, I'll give you 16 bars for $5,000. Like, you pay for that,
dude. That's insane.
But that's it. That ain't even a lot. Like, that's what it is. Like, it's a lot more than that if you're somebody.
So then I'm not charging enough because I in the recent months, I guess I ended up finally acquiring the right gear and the right software plugins and people to help me get a great drum sound out of recording in my basement. It sounds awesome. So
I'd love to come see your setup, dude. You know what you need to do?
No. What do I need to do?
You know what you need to do? And I'm serious about this and I'm trying to get people to start understanding. Every time I suggest this to somebody, I'm not doing two things. First of all, I'm not being Joe Rogan, and I'm not trying to say everyone should have a podcast. Okay? Because he did that for a long time. He's like, he literally said everyone should have a podcast. No, not everyone should have a podcast.
No.
But
I don't have time for that.
Everyone should be monetizing whatever you're doing, whatever your expertise is, online in some form or fashion. So if you're an accountant, probably don't want to start a YouTube channel.
Nope.
But
it's going to be boring.
But you could create an accountant podcast where you talk about tricks of the trade, how to do your job faster, more efficient, scams, historical fucking things that have gone on. And yeah, I get it. People like me and you are going, that sounds like the most boring podcast ever. But not to an accountant. You're somebody who really loves numbers.
So my day job, I'm a project manager.
Okay.
And there is a project manager podcast. Exactly what
you're
talking about.
There you go.
Everybody on the planet, anyone else on the planet would be like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's say you knit or you're a painter.
Yeah. It's
okay.
Just your knit,
then start a Twitch channel, get an overhead camera, and Twitch stream yourself painting. You might sell that painting for $30,000 like my wife used to do. My wife used to sell her paintings for thousands of dollars.
Really, dude?
Thousands of dollars.
I didn't know she was that good.
She's so good. And she got burnt out on it. It's a grind. It's a grind just like running any other business. The love and the passion in the art got sucked out. Because she was making baller money. She would get commissioned like 30 to 60 grand, and they would go, okay, we need 4 pieces. They'd give her the room, and then she would just make whatever she wanted. So she'd see the room. They'd give her like a picture. Like, it's going to be 6 feet wide by 3 feet tall, and it's going to take up this much space. Here's what all the furniture in the room is. We're commissioning you to do this piece. Like, that's how good she was. She had a name and a reputation.
He needs to find that again. That
I know.
spark.
I know.
Dude, that's cool.
So even if you're at that point, is what I was trying to explain to somebody like her, not even my wife. Because if I try to trying to get my wife back into it, she will grab me by the fucking proverbial throat and be like, listen, motherfucker, do not try to get me to do something I don't want to do.
Why?
We're not talking about it.
Okay.
Like,
right.
and I'm not saying you and I aren't talking about it. I'm saying her and I aren't talking
Right.
about it. She's like, I'm not doing it. When I do it, I even bought her an easel because she was like, I'm thinking about getting back into it. And then I was like, babe, I bought you that easel. How come you haven't? She's like, I will do it when I am fucking ready. And I was like, I get that. Because if you tried to tell me, like, you should start making music again, I'd be like, I got nothing to write.
Yeah.
Like, don't sit here and try to motivate me to go write music. Like, I have to find that motivation, and it will come when it comes. So I actually understand. That's why I don't press the issue. But is what I'm trying to explain to her is like, or somebody like her, is even if you are that person who's that good, if you stick with it and you start live Twitch streaming while you paint, eventually you're going to make more money on the Twitch streams than selling your $30,000 paintings. For a guy like you, you got to do...
This is new to me, dude.
Fuck Twitch for you. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Because no offense, you're not Mark Ribelet or Ribier. You're not Harry Mack. You don't do improvs. You're not a vocalist where you interact with people. Because that's a live stream thing.
Sure.
Is what you should be doing, though, because you already make these videos. You already put them on Facebook. Is you should really start doing something on YouTube. Something you're... Basically, is what I'm getting at, and why people get irritated with me, is because I think they think I'm doing one of two things. I'm either trying to get somebody to do something they're not already doing just to add to our community, or I'm trying to be a Joe Rogan and be like, everyone should have a podcast. I'm not doing that. Is what I'm trying to do is find people that are doing something and just going, dude, you already have all these arrows pointing in this one direction. Start monetizing yourself on YouTube. Like, here's a great example. My little brother. I'm like, dude, you need to start a YouTube channel streaming because he's really fucking good at certain styles of video games. And he's actually really funny. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you need to do this. And he's like, I'm not sure that's what I want to do with my life. My response was two things. Number one, you're already playing video games. Why not stream them and make money doing it? And then number two, what else are you doing with your life? Like,
that's the most important one.
Right? Right? For you, you're doing it. You are being a musician and you're getting paid to do it. You are a professional musician, even though you still have to hold down a day job. And so you're already making videos. You already have all this equipment. You already have a camera. You already have everything figured out. Now we just have to create a literal YouTube channel. And I can fucking hook you up with all my knowledge on the fucking stupid SEO shit, how to name your videos, like formats, lengths to do. Like, literally, the sad part is I can help guys like you monetize your channel faster than I can help myself. Because a long form podcast on YouTube, when you're not already a Joe Rogan or a comedian or a famous musician, you're an underground nobody like me, this thing's got to build organically. One fan at a time has to go, I like this thing. I like this dude. I like his guests. I like their chemistry. This is the next Joe Rogan. Somebody's got to think that way in order to want to subscribe to this channel. But you guys are already out there doing it. So all you have to do is you don't have to worry about starting a YouTube channel to get more people to come to a Wicked Garden show. No. You're already a drummer. You already do lessons. You already do all of these things. Now all you're going to do is literally just double dip the chip and someday start monetizing a little bit of what you're already doing. And that's the thing, is there's actually you won't be doing any more work. You're already doing all of these things. That's what I keep getting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm getting at.
Speaking of double dipping, you just mentioned SEO.
Yeah.
Do you know how much SEO professionals make?
Probably. I mean, it depends if you're talking about just like an employee or if you run a company or own a company, something like that. But like, I know those services can cost millions. Like, to hire a company to like, hey, optimize our SEO for our website. I mean, depending on the size of your website.
SEO is search engine optimization, in case anyone's wondering.
Yeah, thank you for that. I talk about it so much on this podcast. I expect everyone to know about it by now, but at the same time, it's like somebody new might be watching this right now that has no idea what we're talking about.
Have that nerd knowledge.
But yeah, I mean, as an employee, I bet you still make over $100,000 a year.
Well, if you're a senior employee, you can get up there. But I mean, you can start at like 60.
Yep,
that's pretty damn good.
And all you're doing is teaching people how to name their fucking JPEG files, title the JPEG file before you upload it to your website.
Exactly.
Name something in your title one way, describe it in another way, and then there's metadata to put in. There's all this crazy other shit. So when I go in and I type, I want to go see a live show tonight, and I'm in Northeast Minneapolis, and I hit enter, they go, you should go see Wicked Garden play at this Fridley
Route
venue.
47.
Yeah, this I forgot what city it was in. This venue in Fridley. It's like Wicked Garden is not metal, but you SEO'd so fucking well that was the first thing Google told me when I typed in what I was looking for. That's search engine optimization. And that happens through two things. It happens through aggregate searches, which is like you type in Joe Rogan, the first thing you're going to get is his podcast. Not an article about him, not a link to one of his specials. You're going to get his podcast. That's an aggregate search. That happens through the users going to find his podcast because it's the most. So that's also why when you type in
quantity, how popular it is.
Yep.
Google does. The little spiders in the background.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. And that's the same reason when you type in, I want to buy a new 55-inch flat screen TV, it gives you the top two options are Best Buy and Amazon.
Right.
Or Target or Walmart, because that's what people in your area are searching for, and that's what they end up on. The second one is what we were just talking about, which is how you title and list everything. YouTube's huge on this. And again, this is why I say like monetizing and building my type of channel is much harder because I can't put a clever name in the title. It's your name.
Right.
It's the number episode. In the description, I can't put, we're going to discuss 10 ways to improve your drumming techniques because I don't know that we're going to do that. Right? You see what I'm saying? But those are the things we do in your style channel is like, here's a 15-minute video, top 10 tips to improve your left-hand drumming technique.
What if we started doing that though? I'd help you out.
I don't think I should be the one doing it.
We're going to talk with so-and-so, with John Gensmer today. This is what he does. And I got some dudes who could come on here and drumming if you wanted to focus on that for a little bit.
Well, here's what I would think about doing is hosting another version of this show and do something like the Extravaganza.
Good drummer to have on here to do that shit.
See, and
he's awesome.
So here's what I would want to do is if the podcast got really popular and then people started getting irritated because I'm basically doing a drumming version of Joe Rogan's MMA show. So let's look at the evolution of something everybody's watched, which is Joe Rogan. People started getting frustrated when he would have an MMA fighter on because all they would talk about was MMA. And they'd be like, dude, I don't want to listen to this shit. So he literally just started naming those episodes MMA show. You don't fucking want to listen to UFC MMA shit, just skip this. Because it's an MMA fighter coming on. That's what we're going to talk about. Move on. So if the channel gets big enough, but certain people are getting frustrated, I might do a version of it called like the Drumaganza, where that's exactly what we do. Like, all right, dude, let's like really break this down. And maybe we set up a drum kit and we sit down and we're like, dude, let's fucking.
That'd be fun.
That would be fucking dope. That would be amazing. I do not have the setup or the equipment to do that yet, so don't fucking at me. I need at least 100 Patreon subscribers at the lowest tier before I can even remotely consider buying any more equipment for this fucking podcast. My wife would kill me.
Yeah.
The only reason we're even this far, bro, is because, and I was just telling somebody this today, I already owned almost all of this shit. And so I already owned the interface.
Sapphire.
Yep. And I bought that years ago for recording on the road, or just mobily. And then I recently bought the Mac. That was all to make music. And then I was sitting down here hanging out, and same thing with the two monitors were for music. So I could throw like my mixer on one, my fucking track feed on another, and then look up tips fucking, how do I put this shortcut on the toolbar on this screen over here? And all while sitting in a pocket playing guitar. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And I finished up my end of the demo, and I was so excited. And then I sent it off to the guys, right? And the first step was waiting for Jeremy to lay down scratch vocals, Jeremy Montoya. And once he laid down scratch vocals, then it went back to Dalton, and Dalton kind of did some of his magic, and we're still in this holding pattern, right? But I was sitting down here with my wife and my roommate. He wasn't my roommate then, he is now though. But and I just went, do you guys realize I'm like one step away from a podcast? And they looked at me like, what? And I was like, literally, look at all the equipment we already have here for everything we're doing. All I have to do is buy 3 webcams, and boom, I'm running a podcast. I already owned all the microphones for trying to be in a band and mic different shit. Right? These are 58s, yep. So yeah, I had enough microphones for 4 band members. So I'm like, well, I have enough. And then the only thing I needed to do was buy a couple more sets of headphones, which technically I've had now for quite a while.
They sound great, actually.
Dude,
clarity is great,
and they're only $100.
Nice.
These are Sennheiser HD 280s.
Yeah, it's because it's Sennheiser.
They're HD 280 Pros. They're $100, maybe $109 in your area. But for a podcast, you don't need anything nicer than these.
Yeah, Sennheiser makes awesome stuff. I love Sennheiser mics.
If you're recording music professionally, maybe I don't recommend these headphones. Maybe you want to go spend a $200 or a $300 set of headphones. But if you're doing a podcast and you spend more than $100,
Sennheiser has some nice mics. Like they're $935 and $945 for vocal. Maybe not in a studio setting, but like live.
I used to use a Sennheiser Live, the wireless one.
Which one? $835, $935, or $945?
Which one's the nicest one?
$945.
And the 35 is the middle ground. That's probably the one I own.
Just slightly below that.
But better than the 835,
yes.
right? Yeah. Knowing me, with the money I was willing to spend.
And at GC.
Yeah, but I didn't work there. But knowing me with the money I was willing to spend, not even the money I had, but also knowing how I buy shit, I usually try to go one step down from the top, because the most expensive versions of electronics usually have some like bells and whistles, but there's no actual tangible better quality to it. It's like a feature or two, usually. Not always, but so I've just kind of like instinctually been trained to buy something. Like I don't ever buy the cheapest, because I've learned, especially in electronics or music gear, or the combination of the two. Don't buy the cheapest. Go a couple steps up from the bottom, but usually that top tier shit, it's pretty. You ever notice that? Like there's something prettier about it?
Right.
That's about it. Usually.
What I like about the 945s is actually for if you're a singing drummer, the 945s, the cardioid pattern is pretty specific. Like this.
Yeah, that's the problem with the 58s that we're using.
Oh, it's Omni.
Well, these are pretty good actually, though.
Oh yeah,
they
right.
really are. The problem is you have to stay on these.
But the cymbal bleed if you're a drummer.
True.
The shit just bleeds right through.
And I think that's a frequency issue, not the pattern.
Yeah, probably right. The 945s do a really good job of doing it. Dude, I have a headset Britney Spears stupid vocal mic.
Is that the best one? Or is that, or are you making fun of it?
Allegedly.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, and that's the best one for me. Oh, okay. Sorry. I shouldn't have cut you off.
It's like this crown mic. Everyone loses their mind. That's the one you want. It was recommended to me by other drummers, singing drummers. And I noticed the cymbal bleed immediately. And you
know why? It's probably they're pop people. They're playing closed hi-hats. They're maybe
one's a rock guy.
Once in a while, maybe. But again, maybe it's more like 80s and fucking 90s and classic rock, where a lot of closed hi-hat, cymbal crashes every once in a while, where you're doing hard rock, grunge, heavy metal. There's a lot of riding the crash ride. Sure. So there's the whooshing sound in the background, a lot of open hi-hats.
But
you see what I'm saying?
Yep. What I'm not considering, though, I guess, is as I'm saying it, I'm just realizing now that probably what I'm not realizing is there's probably a gate on my vocal to front of house, not in my monitors. You know what I mean? So then
That
if
would
I'm
make sense.
singing, that comes through instead of the cymbal bleed on the headset.
But a gate only works absence of a signal. So like once you start but exactly, but that's just an activation. It's exactly because once your voice opens up the gate, so do the cymbals come through as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So but it's funny you mentioned that because that's what I was talking to somebody about that with the 58s for this podcast. Like somebody was like, dude, how the fuck did you get those to sound so good?
They're
like,
58s.
These are not, and they don't sound great to you and I right now, but on the podcast, and they probably don't even sound that great to the listeners. But comparing any other person who's running a podcast with SM58s, you come listen to mine and people go, dude, I know those are 58s, but I keep forgetting they're 58s because they don't sound like 58s on your podcast. That's due to a whole filter stack going on in the production software.
Okay.
So I've got a noise gate, a noise filter, I've got a compression running, and all that's happening in real time.
Yep.
So as you and I are hearing
plugins.
You and I are hearing raw direct feed from these mics to our own headphones. But the audience hears it go through the interface into the filter stack.
So they don't hear when the furnace comes
on? Correct. They don't hear any of that. They don't hear the dogs chirping. They don't hear the wife walking back and forth.
Nice.
You and I hear everything.
Yeah.
They don't hear like that.
Right now. There's furnace.
They don't hear that.
Huh.
Watch. Go silent for 1 second. Watch the meters over there.
Oh, shit.
Perfect silence. And then I put on a noise filter, and that's what I was getting at. So you mentioned the cymbal bleed.
Yeah.
So the noise gate opens at a decibel.
Right.
It's like the door opening.
Yeah.
So when your voice comes through, everything else comes through as well, including cymbal bleed. Is what you need to do is you need to add a noise filter and a noise reduction and isolate the frequency of the cymbals. Because your voice especially is going to be in the mid-range. Those frequencies from the cymbals are going to be in that 8K range, I think. And you can actually go in and just filter out that frequency. So when the door opens, when the noise gate opens and your voice comes through, it's a literal filter. It only allows the frequencies of the mid-range vocal voice to come through the door. It's like a screen door.
Brilliant.
It's like a screen door. There you go.
Yep.
That's what you do.
Nailed it.
But that may not be built into the hardware. You may need to go grab hardware or run it through some software.
Software, yeah. It's gonna be
I don't like software. I don't like it, dude. I do it for this because I have to. But live, I would go hardware. Well, I'd run it through a channel strip.
There's that, but again, technology has just gotten so. There's this company called Waves, and they have Waves, okay. So they have their channel strip that you can plug in your laptop, and you have all these old hardware based things that were made, the CLAs, the Chris Lord, all those stuff.
Yep.
And then you can run that live. Like
with no latency?
Yeah, with no latency from your laptop
or such a minimal amount of latency it's irrelevant.
Into your board, and it's outstanding.
That's incredible.
I think today that's possible. 10 years ago even it was like iffy.
So it's so funny because I asked you a question and we never answered it. Warm-up tricks.
Oh yeah.
Practice techniques. And this is why I try to explain this to guys. It doesn't matter. I'll ask a question and then we'll start talking about it and then never answer the question.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a terrible interviewer but a great podcast host. Because we can talk for hours, dude.
We could.
But I should never, ever run 60 minutes. I should never. Dude, have you seen, okay, again, side topic. Did you see Chris Pratt interview Margot Robbie when he was sitting in for, who was it, Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or one of them? It's hilarious.
That'd be awesome.
When those guys take their 2 weeks vacation a year, other celebrities come in and host. They don't take the show doesn't not air.
And they had Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt came in and he interviews Margot Robbie and he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, so kangaroos. And she goes, and he's like, So did a
right?
rabbit fuck a donkey? What up with him? And dude, the crowd's laughing. She's laughing so hard, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah. So, anyways, you want a beer?" And she's like, "Can we drink beer on here?" And he's like, "We can tonight. Someone get us some beers." And sure as shit, out comes a dude with 2 fucking beers, and him and Margot Robbie sit there and have a beer. It's like,
awesome.
And immediately you watch this and you go, whoever he's filling in for needs to be fired, and Chris Pratt needs to run this show.
Pratt's hilarious.
and the reason it was great is it's exactly what I'm just talking about. This is why Joe Rogan and this podcast work, and Chris Pratt worked that night. However, it's also why people like us should never be allowed to host The Tonight Show, because it may be better, but we're not sticking.
That's why Conan got canned, because people were like, "Oh God, that's too racy. I can't."
Dude, do you remember?
Oh yeah,
that?
Team Coco, the whole bit.
Dude, I'm still on Team Coco.
I absolutely am. He's amazing.
Do you listen to his podcast?
No, I didn't know he had one.
Dude, he has a
What is
podcast
wrong with me?
He has a podcast called Conan Needs a Friend. And every episode starts with them reading from a card, like, "Hi, my name is Tina Fey, and I feel," and there's a blank spot, "about being Conan's friend." And some
So
people,
it's like Mad Libs.
sort of, that's just how they open the show every time, and it's hilarious because some people like read it that way, and they go, "I'm so and so, and I feel blank about being Conan's friend," and he's like, "No, you're supposed to like insert an emotion," and they're like, "I did." You know, some guys get on there like, it's just so funny because like obviously I'll never be on that podcast, but my mind immediately goes to like, how would I answer that? Because they don't know unless they listen to the podcast. And I would just immediately read it like, "Oh, I'm Jared Singer and I feel fully erect about being Conan's friend." Boom, let's start the show. And then they play. Jack White wrote the intro music for it.
Nice.
They're quick, they're short, like half hour to an hour. It's a lot like Conan O'Brien, but he drops F-bombs.
Yes.
He's like really loose with
Dude,
it.
I need to
really loose
he's
with it.
hilarious, and I feel
So
like
good.
he's held back so much. I'd love that. I need to. Get
I
into
was
this
so
immediately.
mad when he got the Tonight Show and then got it taken from him so
Yep,
fast.
Me too. I was pissed.
Like,
Even
dude,
Tom Hanks was like, "Team Coco."
dude, it was so bad, man. And then he ended up on TBS where no one watches him. You know, it's like.
But I loved how he played into it. The basic cable band.
Yeah.
You know, shit like
Yeah.
that. Like, he's so smart. He's so clever. And then now I heard that he's leaving TBS. Like, he's just ending the show.
I think he's just going to go online.
That's what I heard too. Yeah, he's just like, you know what? I established my audience.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Right. Why do anything? And that's the thing is like Joe Rogan really.
Oh shit! There you
Joe
go.
Rogan didn't start this podcasting thing, but he changed the world because Joe will get 3 million people on average to watch each podcast episode.
Damn. That's cool.
Like, and then the listener, we kind of talked about this before the podcast, the listeners on audio side are always higher. So people like Conan, as he's getting a huge online presence now, he launched this podcast, like he's doing all this other shit. He's going, yeah, I don't really need TBS. Like, they're actually kind of holding me back now.
Exactly.
Because like I'm watching
Like,
Rogan
I'm way
blow up
funnier
on
than
yeah.
this person. When I'm not restricted.
I just hope I didn't get in too late because I started this 2 years ago on audio. And didn't like it. I was like, nope, we got to add video. And then
remember you telling me that, yeah.
And then life got in the way. That huge mistake.
Yep. I totally remember that.
Like, that's why I keep telling people that hit me up and they're like, hey, I want to do this. Can you help me? And I'm like, yes, I'll help you. Here's where you start, blah, 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 blah. You know, first create your vision. And then I hit them up a month or two later and they're like, oh, I put that on. I'm going to wait another couple months because I got this other thing I'm working on. I'm like, no, like if you wait 5-10 years, you're just going to get drowned in the swamp. Yep. Like, you got to get in now. This is the last push to start a podcast. If you don't do it now, I don't know. That's at least what I'm thinking.
Yep. I think you're right.
I hope I'm not too late. I might have even already waited too long.
You know, maybe locally though. I know it's not going to monetized so well, but it's still cool. I think it's building.
Well, and that's where we'll
You
start.
got really, really cool guests. So
yeah,
not me.
I would love to say no, you, dude. No, I would love to say thank you, but I can't. I would love to say thank you, but that's not even a compliment to me. That's a compliment to them, and I agree. I've gotten very lucky that I've gotten so many people to say yes already, and there's still so many people on the fence. There's
Really?
there's still so many people that are just like, dude, it's just not my cup of tea, man.
Okay. Whoever's on the fence, is this? Yeah, here we go. Whoever's on the fence. I've been here twice. This is super fun to do. And it's like, look at this. It's a lot of fun. You can make it your platform. You can talk about whatever you want, do whatever you want, pretty much. You want to get wild? Get wild.
Yeah, we're just chilling.
We're just chilling. We're just having fun. This is all organic. This is so cool. I love doing this.
And then
that's why last week when I had to cancel, I was like, I don't want to cancel.
Shit happens, dude. And you were like, I might still be able to swing. And what did I say? I was like, no, dude,
you were like,
family first. Dude, like, no, we're not doing this. Like, I get it. Yeah, I want to hang out too.
But I had such a blast the first time I was here. I was like, yep, fucking doing it again. Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Now that is a compliment to me, because that's the hardest part of doing this job, right?
Yeah.
So like, when you think about it, like when you're a musician, the hardest part of doing that job at the beginning is getting over your own fear of playing in front of people. But later, the hardest part of doing that job is keeping people entertained and engaged through your entire set. There's no worse feeling to starting off to a full crowd and 3 songs in, everyone walks away.
Yeah.
And you got 30 more minutes to go. That's the worst feeling. This is very much like that, John, but you only got one person to worry about. The problem is it's like, kind of like that Stalin quote or Hitler quote or whatever. It's easier to lie to 1 million people than one.
Yeah.
It's kind of easier to keep 150 people or 1,500 people engaged than it is just one. Because if I lose you for 1 second, your phone pops out. You see what I'm saying? Like, it gets awkward. And I think a lot of people fear that because they're like, they look at the idea of coming on a podcast and they're like, I don't sit down and hang out with anyone one-on-one and talk for 3 hours. There's no way I could do that podcast. And you and I talked about this before the first time you came on, and we laughed about it as soon as you got off, because those are my favorite people to have on the podcast. It's like, I don't know if I could fill 3 hours. And I say,
I even said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
and
like,
I go,
I don't know if I can do 2 hours.
And I go, trust me, like, just promise me an hour and a half. And before you know it, we'll be at 3.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly what happened. That's my skill, is like, it's not awkward. Like, it doesn't feel like we're running a show. And that's not even my skill. That's just leaning into the platform. It's a podcast.
It is a skill. Don't sell yourself short.
I'll take the compliment, but I don't view it that way. But I'll take the compliment.
I absolutely thought that what's cool about your show is, even if the other person is just incredibly boring, you will still find a way to make it like, it just brings something out of them, and then they'll open up and start talking about it, and then it's just so much more engaging, and then you make them feel comfortable.
Thank you, man.
You know, I mean, I think that is a really cool talent that you have. It's great.
Isn't it ironic that I'm that guy?
It's not.
No, if
I've
you
known
think
you
about,
for a long time.
But if you think about it, it is, though, because for so long, so many people didn't know me, but talked a lot of shit about me, that I was just this asshole who fucking blah, 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 blah. But you heard those things. Let's not pretend.
Of course I heard those
things. But thinking
I knew
about
you,
that,
and
like,
I'm like, okay.
But I've even said shit that's rubbed you the wrong way in the past, because I do it. I say dumb shit every once in a while.
Everyone
Usually
does.
It's based in some sort of joke.
I say dumb shit all the time too.
But isn't it completely ironic? Because I think it is. Like, how did I build this reputation where so many people were like, dude, that dude's a complete asshole, and then I'm the one who starts the podcast, and then I'm not going to say it's the same people, but I will say some of those same people have told me, like, dude, like, I've known you for a long time. I've never actually thought you were an asshole, but you had this crazy reputation. And after hanging out with you on the podcast, it's like, I don't understand where any of that come from. And I was like, it's Jared Lee Roth when I was drunk and trying to be funny and shit came out of context.
Yeah.
Like I said something that cracked me and one or two other people up. And I was the funniest dude in the room for those three people. Yeah. Everyone else I alienated. That's me at 24 thinking I'm funny. That's the thing I think people fail to remember. You guys are remembering 15-year-old version of me. 15-year-old version of me. I was in my early 20s. I'm almost 40. I'm 36. Still. You know, like that's what I'm saying. I was 21. It was 15 years ago.
Nice.
That's not the same guy.
No, of course
even
not.
When I'm hammered. I mean, I'm the same type of guy, but I've gotten a little bit better at filtering out some of that dumb shit I say.
I'm the same way, dude. Same way.
But I did set out with a goal that when I did this podcast, I was not going to go after anyone intentionally. I'm not ever inviting somebody on here to humiliate them. I'm not getting you on here to tell crazy stories and humiliate yourself. It would be, but I've seen it. I've seen other people do podcasts where they bring people on, they get them to tell stories that really just embarrass themselves, and then they laugh at them to create these clips and these bits. And what I'm actually seeing is like, cool, I get it. But is what you really just did here is you invited this person on your podcast, you got them to humiliate themselves, and now you're making money off of it. You literally hired them to be a dancing monkey. That makes me feel bad when I'm watching a podcast. I was like, we ain't doing that shit. So I've had a couple people hit me up and I'm like, dude, I'm nervous to bring you on. Cause like, I know some of the stories you're going to want to tell and they're not flattering. They're humiliating to you. And like, I'm not trying to bring you on my podcast and put you on the spot to where you feel compelled to get views that you tell the craziest story and you embarrass yourself. That's not who I want to, but that's not why I started the podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I've gone out of my way to, when I hear somebody doing something like that, I'll interrupt or pivot. If we are getting boring,
and that's another talent,
I'll interrupt or I'll pivot. Like, but the beauty of the podcast is I don't do this for views or ratings. I do it because I want to talk with these people, you. I want to hang out with these people, you. And I want to talk about what we want to talk about. So if we want to get into practice regimens, which we're finally going to get here now, an hour and a half into it, that's what we're going to talk about. And if people drop off because we're talking about, fine, but that's what we're going to talk about.
Because we pivoted.
And it's just that's what matters in the context of this conversation. Yep. And we talked about this before. You guys do those drummers gatherings. Yes. God, one of these days I got to figure out a way to sneak my way into that room.
We haven't had one
since the pandemic. Yeah, we talked about this last time. So practice shit. So I'll start off. I got one, and this is probably obvious to you.
I'm going to make sure you're at the next one.
I'd love to be there. I really don't deserve to be there, but just knowing the talent that's in that room, it's really not appropriate I'm there, but I get it. It'd be cool to have me there because I have a podcast and shit. Like, it'd be cool.
We've had bass players in there. We've had...
Yeah, don't do that ever again.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so practice regiments. I got one for you. So here's what I do. Here's one of the things I do. It's always part of my deal.
Keep burping. And
I go like this. Okay. And you've probably heard of this. I do this on my hands, and then I do the same thing mirrored on my feet. Not at the same time, though. I alternate. So I go, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 until I do everything even. So 1, 2, 3, 4 right hand quarter notes. Same thing left hand quarter notes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 16ths. Okay, for a full 4. And then it's eighth notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing on the left. And then again to the 16ths, 1, 2, 3, 4. Until every stroke is the same volume and tone. Meaning I've dialed in the sloppiness of my left to right movement, and I'm hitting the snare in the center. And my up and down velocity and impact and bounce are timed and sound the same. Mm-hmm. And since I'm not a perfect ambidextrous drummer, that does not mean I'm actually hitting the drums the same. It means I've compensated and figured out where I'm at that day to get everything to, and then once I do that on the snare, then I quickly do it on the toms, each tom. So now I'm replicating this technique at each angle within my drum set. So I have one upper tom and I have one floor tom. That's it. So it's snare drum, kicks. Then I do it on the tom, then back to the kicks. And then I go to the floor tom, back to the kicks. And then I end on the snare drum one more time, and that's done. That's basically my warm-up routine. And then I just go into songs. I just cue up songs I really like that are more about the aerobic exercise than about the technical proficiency, because I want to get my heart rate, I want to get my blood moving, I want to get my muscles warmed up. And then once I've done that, that whole process is an hour. And then I take a 5-minute break just to catch my breath, make sure my stamina's up, and then I start writing.
Wow.
That's what I do.
Quite the regimen.
But I'm also not a pro like you. I'm not playing every single day. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta like get there. I'm like an old man. You're like a current NFL player. I'm coming out of retirement every time I pick up the sticks. I'm Brett Favre. I skip training camp every year.
So that regimen, and even the idea of trying to even out the strokes and get the velocity of your left hand, your weaker hand, into it, that's perfect. Dude, like you're right on. That's exactly how you should do it when you're just practicing on, even on a pad. You know, you start out slow and then you start doing your 16ths. And
yep.
I recommend also just, having that click track going with.
Oh, yep. And I do that to a click.
3,
yep.
4,
that's the most important part is I do all of that to a click. I have headphones on and I go through my cell phone. I have a metronome.
Yep. Perfect. So do that. And exactly how you explained it is perfect.
I just don't do it with my cymbals. I'm not going to sit there and do paradiddles on my fucking ride.
No one. Dude, you're on a pad too. Like, even if you're doing it on a pad, no one's fucking with their cymbals. It's not a thing.
But I don't, and I said paradiddles just now, but I misspoke. That's what I was getting at though, is I don't do paradiddles in my warm-up routine. I will break down a paradiddle if I notice I'm doing something in a fill, and there's somewhere in that fill I need to add a not a double stroke, because I'm not talking about the bounce. I'm talking about 2 single strokes in the middle of a fill in order for me to get the rhythm right, or for me to end on a different hand. Like sometimes when we come into a fill and you want to end it on a left hand so you can start the next bar on your right hand on a cymbal.
That's exactly how I play.
Yeah, a lot of people do this.
I always hit with my left. And I notice a lot of people are trying to end on the right. I'm like, no, you want to start
the next bar
with your right. Crash, or do your accent with your lefts.
Yeah, and then I try to start one on my right hand.
Exactly.
So in order for me to do that, I needed to retrain and either start my fill on my left hand. So instead of coming in and going da 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 da, right? I'd go pop 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 pop, boom.
Yep.
So I started that from the beginning, and the only time I'll really break down a paradiddle is when I notice somewhere in my fill I'm getting sloppy, and or I'm fucking something up, and it's becoming an uncomfortable, awkward transition to come out of that part. So I'm always thinking about the efficiency of the moves along with how it sounds, and trying to figure out how to get the best sounding drum part to also be the most efficient version of movement. And that's when paradiddles come in. So a lot of people ask me about this, like, oh, what paradiddles do you do to practice and warm up? I'm like, none. I do these straight constants because I'm not trying to, like, when I'm warming up and getting ready, I'm not trying to like challenge my creative songwriting brain. To me, that's what paradiddles are. It's like, because if you're just going paradiddle over and over again, that's not creative songwriting. That's just muscle memory.
But that's not actually what paradiddles are. So,
okay.
So paradiddles are, and I see this a lot actually. So paradiddles, you're thinking right, left, right, left, right, left, right?
Sure. That's the base one, yeah.
That's basic. So
yep.
But then when you actually get into paradiddles, think about it in
right. Exactly.
Okay?
Now,
So
I do that more in fills than I do in ever a beat. Like an actual, like, just straight snare kick, hi-hat beat, like when we're playing the song.
Yep.
You're in the verse.
Yep.
Like, that paradiddle shit never comes up. It never comes up when I'm doing a snare roll. Like, it never comes up in practical songwriting. It comes up in fills.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I'm getting
That's
at.
exactly what it's.
And you don't have to lean forward. Just pull that back.
Oh, sorry. And that's kind of what it is. But I guess what I'm saying versus what you're saying is you're still on eighth notes, paradiddle,
sure.
1 and 2 and 3.
And you're going
1
1 E and a 2 E.
1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. Yep.
And to me, that's the exact
difference.
same thing, just sped up. Yep. And that's a skill level. It's like, how fast can you do it?
And 3 and 4 and
You're going 1 E and a 2
yep.
E and a 3
exactly.
E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a, yeah.
So instead of 2-stroke, you're actually doing, you're changing what you're hitting for your note value. You're going into 16ths. I think some people kind of confuse that, because I've seen drummers on there's the Facebook page My Drum Set, where a guy will be like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and I'm like, nope, not how it's done. What?
I got to piss. Jump into the chat. There's a few people still watching. There's some comments in there. It looks like Greg's watching. Sub-Zero, that's Jason.
That's Jason.
Shout out to Jason and his boys. Not only did they hit 1,000 subs a while ago, they just hit 1,100 and they monetized. They, I'm not going to say how much money they made last month.
Have you had Jason on the show yet?
You can read the comments.
Dude.
I got to piss.
Do this. Have Jason on the show. Oh, I've been on twice. Okay, I'll pay attention. No, there's no questions. It's just, fun stuff. All right. It's all good. Yeah, he's got a cool podcast going with, so if anyone's watching, you don't know Jason Reed. If you don't know Jason Reed, you're doing life wrong. He is Sub-Zero. Oh, M&X. I was like, mix? Like, no, M&X. Anyway, Jason's good shit. He's, him and his boys, they have an awesome video game podcast that they do. And also, I really think, personally speaking, Jason should be doing voiceovers, because his voice is incredible. He's got this deep, cool voice. And the way he can imitate people, actually, because he has such a range. His talking voice is low, but he can reach really high. Like, dude, you're messing up, man. Get there.
Dude, did you know?
No.
Did you know his uncle is Sergeant Slaughter?
Shut the fuck.
I swear to God.
Dude, I was in a band with Jason.
Jason Reed's. Okay, he's finally responding. There's a delay too.
Yep. What up,
Confirm Jason in the comments. Jason's uncle is the Sergeant Slaughter from the WWF.
Shut up.
It's his uncle.
How did I?
And now think about it in retrospect. Think about that voice, and then you go, of course it's his uncle. Listen to Jason talk.
I know.
And then you go, of course he came from a line of voices. Like, Jason wasn't born with that voice. Jason inherited that voice from his family. Listen to Jason's kid. Dude, when Jason's kid on his YouTube channel loses his shit, that kid, I'm telling you, could go full metal singer and go straight to the top. That kid's voice, like, he talks like a normal kid,
Yeah.
But then he'll go, Tyler. They've both been on the podcast.
Yeah, I confirm and swear you knew this.
Yes. He's talking about his uncle. His uncle is Sergeant Slaughter. The Sergeant Slaughter from the WWF. I'm surprised not only did you not know it, but I'm surprised you haven't been reminded of it, because he posted a picture recently when Jason went to North Carolina. He went and had lunch with his uncle and they took a picture.
Oh my God.
And it's right on Facebook. Yeah.
I apparently
This is why I try to explain to people Minneapolis is just like LA, but we don't have the podcast and Instagram community that they do. So we're not building a following and a reputation out of Minneapolis. We do what Epicurean did, and I'm calling you out for it right now. You fucking get signed, you move to fucking LA, and your record label puts on your bio that you're formed in 2008 from LA.
Yeah.
Which we all know was a goddamn lie. You were fucking born in like, this band was in like 1997 in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
That is disgusting to a lot of people from here, but I understand the reason for it.
I remember that we had this band was formed in 2003, blah, blah, blah. And I remember Lance like posting on some things like, this band is making a concentrated effort to hide their past. I'm like, nope.
That's the label.
It was the label.
That's a marketing thing.
It's exactly. It was a marketing
I didn't even
thing.
know you. Okay. Let's do this in context.
Yep.
You've never told me this before. We've never had this conversation.
We haven't. No.
I know because I understand how the fucking world works.
Yeah.
That this was the label who made this decision. This was a marketing VP who stepped in and said, no. If we say they're from Minneapolis in 1997, it looks like they've been struggling this whole time.
Exactly.
They were formed in 2008 when we signed them, and they're from LA. That's what we're putting on there because it looks like they're new and they're fresh and they're young.
Yep.
Boom. End of story. That's how it went.
Exactly.
Now I want you to explain to you, for the listeners, the reason I wanted to say that, because I already knew that, but explain the context of what you said. There was a bunch of people that knew you just like I did who didn't know that story and didn't understand how that business works. A lot of accusations flew. So not only do I want you to kind of preface and talk about that, but also how that conversation went with you guys within the band, because at some point in time you read that bio and a phone call you probably didn't even know up front. So at some point in time there was some sort of discussion between you and the label, and that shit had to be awkward as well. So talk about locally how it was received, and then obviously misperceived, but then how you had to have that conversation with your record label.
Well, at the record label, yeah, it was, I mean, even to go back.
Which one happened first? Did you have the conversation with the label about it?
Label first.
So you knew what was going on.
We had to
before it went up.
Manipulate our bio. Yep. And it's still on metalblade.com.
Keep going.
Still. So on that one, yeah, I think we got signed in 2007. Sure. So good. Yeah, we got signed in 2007. So even then, I thought, like, when they said, okay, we'll go back as far as, let's say, 2003, because it was exactly what Jared was talking about. They didn't want to make it sound like we've been struggling for years and finally we broke free or whatever. You know, so that was totally a marketing thing on their part. And then, but I kind of, at the time, was emotionally invested with my friends back then. You know, I had Lance and Ryan and Jordan and everyone else who was in the original Epicurean lineup. I was like, well, can we say reformed then? And Metal Blade's like, no. Nope. No. You started here. Let's just go from there. Okay. So, and that's what it was. That's all it was. And so when
there's some weird, just so it doesn't sound like I'm just like moving the story along. There's some truth in there though, because you didn't sound like the old Epicurean.
No.
None of those members were in it, including you're not a founding member of Epicurean.
I am. I'm the only founding member.
I thought there was one dude before you.
Nope.
I thought Lance and somebody else started that band with another guy, and he was in the band for a week or two, and then you came in. So we've always considered you a founding member, but I swear I thought there was one asshole, like the Ron McGovney of Epicurean on drums.
No.
Like one dude who was there just briefly before you, but for such... Wow, I apologize, man.
No,
so you are the actual only true founding member.
Yep.
And it was Lance was a founding member?
No, actually he wasn't. It was Dave Whitmer.
That was he's dark-skinned dude with a goatee?
Yep.
Never brushed his teeth?
I don't. Dave's a badass dude. He is fucking cool.
If it's the same guy I remember, he never brushed his teeth.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry, that's not nice. I apologize.
Nice.
That's mean.
He does. He's actually a chef.
It's probably
dude.
not
He's
the
a
same guy.
Brilliant chef. By the
It's
way.
probably not the same guy.
It is. You're talking exactly what.
2 seconds ago, he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
Lance,
it's definitely. Jesus, John.
Lance. Jesus Christ! I'm gonna get so much shit for this now. Fuck it.
You didn't say it. I said it.
Yeah, you did. For the record, I love Dave. He's amazing.
I got a funny story about them.
Lance came in a little bit after, but I would say, yeah, he would be kind of a founding member guitar player in the fact that he was our first rhythm guitar player.
Gotcha. So maybe I conflated you two.
So the original, it was 4 people. It was me, Jordan Rex, and Ryan Malmstrom, and we were just...
That's who it was. It was Ryan.
Yep, and we were sitting on the front steps of my townhouse at the time. Jordan lived there too, so our townhouse. And Ryan had showed up in my basement when he was supposed to be at a gig with Lord of All Desires. And I'm like, what are you even doing here, dude? And he's like, I quit the band. I'm like, holy shit. You know, that's brutal.
Want to join ours? Yeah.
So it was like it was a thing that we were just trying to get through and try to talk to him. And I was friends and still am friends with Tony Williams, and he was not happy about that situation, of course, because he had to cover it, at the last second. But yeah, it was just kind of an odd situation to be in. But then we just started talking, and it was a couple days later, I bet, and we were like, well, we should just start our own thing. And that's how it happened. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you guys should start another version of that band called Epic Heroin. Like not like heroin, like heroin.
Heroin.
Like a female superhero.
Gotcha. And we'll find a female singer.
No, you don't even have to do that. It'd actually be better if it was, ironically, there was no chicks in it. It would actually be way better that way. If it's a bunch of dudes with the name Epic Heroin, but then we'll say it so fast, we'll say Epicurean, but you'll never...
Epicurean.
Right, Epicurean.
So it'd still kind of be... Yeah,
and it's just a secret inside joke for just you and me.
I just do
just you and me. So you're gonna go through all this work and reform this band, name them Epic Heroin, just for
I don't even want
a brief inside joke for you and me, and the sake of this podcast.
Yeah, the sake of podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I have an unnamed band now. I know everyone's like, "Oh my god, how many freaking bands are you juggling?"
Well, you're a drummer, so the answer is 16.
Yeah, the answer is always 16.
Because it's a multiple of 4, and we can't count past 4.
Yep.
We can't do any math that's not a multiple of 4.
So back to Jordan Rex, who is the original bass player. We've been longtime friends. He was the bass player of my first band ever in high school. We go back to 8th grade. And he and I and his old guitar player, Trevor, we're not forming a band, so to speak, but I've received guitar parts and demos of really cool thrash / death metal songs that are just going to be brutal. We don't have a vocalist yet. I've been talking to Trevor, and he's been saying, I'm open to ideas for vocalists, but here's some parts. Let's get some of the stuff laid down. It's really cool stuff. So it's going to be, I think, refreshing.
It's all original?
Yeah, it's all original.
Nice.
And what's interesting is I'm in Minnesota, Jordan is in Colorado, and Trevor is in LA.
So it's like a version of 4 Blood.
Yeah, we're just all over the place. It's I don't know, it's cool. We're doing that.
Well,
so that's
hopefully
the metal part.
Hopefully we get our shit together soon. We should do a show together. This new project.
If we end up doing that, yeah, that'd be fun.
We gotta.
Are you going for metal?
We're gonna play with metal bands. Have you heard the pre-production demo?
I don't think so.
Before you leave, because I may not have had it when you were on the podcast last time.
Yeah.
It's still a pre-production demo.
Yeah.
But it sounds good. It's like high fidelity.
Yeah.
The vocals are on pitch. There's harmonies. It's mixed. There's a lot of imperfections in the music, like on the drumming and the guitar playing. But the song's there. You can hear it, and you'll either like it or you won't. But when you hear it, you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, you're playing with metal bands."
Yeah.
Like, we're not a metal band. We're a rock band. I'm not even gonna market it as hard rock.
Yeah.
We're a rock band, but we're going to have to play with metal bands. We're gonna have to play with emo bands. We're gonna have to play with every band. It's all methodical, John.
Sure.
Think about this, bro. You and I have been doing this for 20 years together.
Yep.
20 fucking years. But we are different than other people in other generations who have been doing things for 20 years. Because you and I came up in a world before the internet.
Yep.
When we had to be resourceful and creative. And then the internet came out and it made everything seem like it was going to be easy. And there was about a 6-year run where it did make everything easy. Dude, we didn't have to go out and promote at First Avenue with flyers anymore. We could just put out a MySpace post. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You remember when you went from like struggling to draw 200 to 500 people, and you were out in the freezing cold at First Avenue handing out flyers?
Yep. At every show, it didn't matter.
Yep. And then a few years later, MySpace came out. Your band was still struggling, but now you could just send out an invite or create an event, and all of a sudden you had 500 people.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you started asking, dude, how are you getting so many people here? I'm the one out there passing flyers. And we went, you're still passing out flyers?
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Dude, get on MySpace.
Yeah.
And people would go, what's MySpace? Which turned into Facebook, which turned into Twitter, which turned into YouTube, which turned into all these things. And basically, what started out as making our jobs simple and easy has now made them as equally complicated and convoluted and as difficult and as big of a sea as the real world. So now the sea that you're lost in, standing out there shivering with 20 bands handing out a flyer. So some guy getting 20 flyers at the end of a show. That's what I'm getting at here. This really happened. Yeah. So they'd walk out of a show, they'd look at your flyer and throw it away in front of you. Then 30 feet down the chain, they'd get another one from another guy, throw it away. Didn't matter. It was still worth it because he's seeing your band logo and over again.
Remember going
That's what we're doing online now.
Remember leaving a show and just automatically having your hands out and be like, I'll take a flyer, I'm taking a flyer.
And I actually, because I was doing it, I actually took them and I actually looked at each one.
I would do, I was that promoter.
Yep. And I read each band name and I was like, I'm going to try to go to each one of these shows, but I just want to know who these people are working.
Agreed.
Because I'm on this same platform. So now when I see a young YouTuber like me, not age-wise, but like in their channel's age, a new person out there doing it, I go out of my way. If I think they got talent or potential, subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
That's the equivalent of taking the flyer now. Hit the subscribe button because you guys don't understand how much that helps us.
Yeah. So
if you're listening on iTunes or you're watching on YouTube, like, it doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't offend your lifestyle to hit that red button.
Right.
But what it does do is it changes our lives, the content creators.
Yep.
Like, it's such a big deal to hit that subscribe button for us.
Oh, good.
Oh, sorry. We're reading comments for the listeners. We got an awkward silence there. Sorry. Okay. We're reading comments.
Sorry.
So yeah, comment. We're just catching up.
I was just thinking with Jason, that was one of the first. He's trying to promote his YouTube channel, and I watched it. I'm like, this is exactly like what my kids watch.
Right.
I'm like, this is cool. So of course, I immediately hit subscribe, and then you had the show back up. Because of course we were talking about earlier your audio, put it aside, and then as soon as you came back, asked me, and I'm like, yep, subscribe for sure. Just get that up there. It's totally important.
And it's so simple for you to just click that button. And it seems so insignificant because you guys think, well, I watched it.
Yep.
Okay.
Good enough.
Okay. Which technically is true. But sometimes you guys will hit the like button and you're like, well, dude, I fucking watched it. I liked it. Or you'll see the link on Facebook and you just hit the like and you're like, well, dude, I liked it.
Right. No,
and it's like, no, go to the Facebook page. Here's what you do. If you want to support somebody who's doing something on YouTube, it's simple. It's really simple. Find their video, suffer through 10 minutes of it. Seriously, I'm for real. Even if it's not good, suffer through 10 minutes, because that number is really important to a YouTuber. An average watch time of 10 minutes matters.
Okay.
If you watch something for 30 seconds, it actually hurts us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So watch it for 10 minutes.
Same thing with SEO, speaking of.
Exactly. Yep. So watch it for 10 minutes, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then if you really, really want to help, type a thoughtful comment.
Yeah.
Something that will make either something completely egregious and offensive or something really heartfelt and thoughtful. But the point is to get other people to respond to that comment.
Right.
So if you're my buddy,
you got interaction on
yep.
the site.
If you're my close friend, and you want to help, do all the things I said. And then if you're like, this is corny, I don't want to be like, this is a great podcast, because that's cheesy, right?
Yeah.
And you're my buddy, then talk shit, be a troll for a day. Like, piss somebody else off in the comments, and that'll get somebody else to respond, which makes the YouTube algorithm go, oh, people are interacting with this content. Let's get it to more people. We're just playing a game here.
Right.
That's the craziest part. The coolest part, though, bro, something that happened since you've been on.
Good.
We launched,
I like good news.
we launched our audio side, which we didn't have when you were on.
Okay.
So we launched on audio, and on audio, I get a completely different set of demographics, and I'm able to see where people are downloading and listening from.
Yeah.
So I'm literally watching this fucking podcast spread across the world like coronavirus.
That's cool.
It's the coolest thing. India, Philippines, South Korea, Germany, Ecuador, Ontario, Canada.
That makes sense.
Random states across the country. Like, not just because this guest
Canadian
is
fans.
But it's, you know what I mean, though? It's not because, like, this one guy is from Virginia.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I popped in Virginia. My podcast is more popular in Virginia than anywhere else in the world, including Minnesota. Virginia. I get more audio downloads in Virginia than anywhere else in the world.
That's cool. That's awesome.
It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And it's not because of a episode. It's just random.
Just random.
Yep.
That's cool, man.
Yep. North Carolina,
Just caught on
fucking
somewhere.
Tennessee, California. Cool. Well, California is because of Patrick. Some of these people I know.
Right.
I got one regular downloader out in New York. I'm like, that's my boy Mark. For sure, that's my boy Mark. Nice. But then all of a sudden I get one random, regular, reoccurring downloader in Nevada. I'm like, I literally don't know anyone in Nevada.
Nice.
Got somebody in New Mexico.
Dude.
I'm like, I know this really smoking hot chick in New Mexico, but I'm pretty sure that's not who's the one that's downloading my episode. You know what I mean? Like,
because she doesn't remember you.
Right, exactly. I remember her. You nailed it. Yep. You nailed it. She's that hot. Yeah. She doesn't remember me.
Yeah, been there a few times. What's your name? Doesn't matter. You're never gonna remember.
Oh, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like that's the biggest insult.
It totally is.
I don't remember you.
Yep.
Do you watch the Marvel movies?
I do.
It's my favorite part of all the Marvel movies. In Endgame, when fucking Thanos is on the field at the end, kicking ass, murdering everybody again, even without the Infinity Stones. Yeah. And fucking girl drops down, Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
And she's like, you took everything from me.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't even know who you are. I'm like, that's the biggest diss.
Damn.
And then she goes, you will.
Right.
And I was like, oh snap, Wanda, go get him. It was like watching a sassy black girl, like, you will, motherfucker. You know me for so long. You know how I used to be so into black girls. I live in the hood. I got a white wife. It's super weird.
Yeah.
It's super ironic. I was the asshole in the scene who was super into black girls, and I got a white wife. I live in the hood. I have a podcast, and people are now starting to say I'm a really nice guy. What the hell is happening? I'll tell you what happened. 2020 is what happened. It's like, dude, I got another question for you.
Can I piss first?
Go piss. Because you can hear me. You're right there. You can just piss right in that sink.
All right.
And I'll even ask the listeners, and you guys can put in the comments. Don't name names, but how many people did you love and respect and admire in your personal life? Not celebrities. Let's leave them out of this. But people that you knew and thought you loved and respected. But since 2020 happened, You've seen them say or do some shit specifically online where you're like, really? That person has that opinion on this event right now? Like, really? And maybe you're not going to go out of your way to like unfriend that person, because that always seems like kind of an extreme measure. But maybe you click those 3 dots on Facebook and hit snooze this person for 30 days. I don't want names. Is what I'm curious is how many of those people exist in your life? Because for me, it's a shockingly large amount. And it's not even the amount I'm surprised about. It's who. Like the 30 people I've hit snooze on in the last 6 months are the last 30 people I thought I would. But some of the crazy shit I'm hearing them say on all sides of the fence, by the way. Like some of these motherfuckers have gone super lefty and some of them have gone super right. But it's not even whether they're right or wrong. It's like, really? You making that argument now in this situation? Like, whether I agree with you or not, it's like what's happening in your Facebook thread is so toxic that I'm just going to hit snooze for 30 days. I love this person. I've admired and respected this person and then watched them completely
become unhinged.
Yeah. In one moment, even if I agree with them, that's the hardest one to watch.
See, I'm not that extreme.
I've never seen you lose your shit online ever. Even when you like get excited and you do something in all caps and type it, I still imagine you at work like going, yeah, and that's why you're fucking idiots. Tap, tap, enter. Not like, and that's why you're all fucking idiots. Like, it's like, even when I imagine you losing your shit and you're like, oh, really, Jared?
Yeah. It's cathartic
really?
just to type it out sometimes.
So you're saying ...
Yeah.
Like,
and then I'll delete it. I'll be like, you know what? I don't need to engage with this. There's a person last night. I had that very moment where I was like,
hold on. I'm gonna mute the mics. Hold on. I know the name, but I don't know who you're talking about. But that's a great feature.
I like it.
Do you know how many moments that's happened on the podcast?
No.
Where they are willing to tell me in the moment, but we're not going to say it on the podcast because what we just talked about, we're not here to humiliate people.
Right.
Even if we're telling crazy, humiliating stories. Well, now I can just mute the mics and be like, just tell me so I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually know that person, but I do recognize the name.
So this dude is...
or girl. You're so bad at this.
Right.
you just alienated 50% of the potential because the first when you said it, this person, I'm not going to name names. So it is a dude.
This dude. You're right. I don't know. He's got these opinions that are just really far right, and I for me personally, I lean left of middle, and I would say I lean left because I like a lot of I guess I'm socially liberal.
Well, you also let's be honest. Can I hold on? Can I say this? I'm going to mute this again. Sorry, guys. Sure. I just want to make sure. Well, okay. So also, your wife is a first generation immigrant.
She is. Yeah.
Her parents weren't born here. She moved here.
She wasn't born here.
Right. She moved here.
Yes.
So this affects.
She's also Jewish.
This affects. So she's a Russian Jew.
Yes.
That's interesting because she's like me then. So she's like my people. She doesn't look Jewish.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not fucking Jewish. I know what Jews look like. And I'm like, that's the most racist shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, dude.
God, you're a horrible person.
We are an actual race. Yes, I get it. But the Jews have been around for so long, we don't look a certain way anymore.
Right.
Like, we blend in.
Right.
Like, we're all over the world. Fuck. But this affects how we look in the world.
Yep.
You know, so one of the reasons I started to think more liberally, raised in a very conservative family.
Me too.
Is I started dating black girls. I was
Yeah.
extremely attracted to them. I started dating them. I started hanging out with them and their families and their friends and their cultures, and just started seeing things a different way. It just immediately made me go, well, wait a minute. If everything my parents are saying about black people is wrong, then, and it's not even my parents, I shouldn't say my parents, it was, the culture of my family would be more accurate, because my mom's not a racist. Neither is my dad. Nobody in my family's actually racist, but we were a white country or suburban family. Even when we were in poverty, we were a white family,
Right.
with a conservative upbringing, right? So they had misperceptions and misconceptions about black people. So when I started seeing them wrong on that front and their assumptions, I immediately went, well, what else are they wrong about? And immediately started thinking about politics differently. And then I went to a liberal arts high school. I went to creative arts high school in St. Paul. So that was a heavily liberalized school. So that was the second dose. So you're explaining all these reasons why you lean a little bit left, but I think it's important to understand those contexts. Were you raised in a liberal family?
No, my family is, I would say my dad is, he's more Republican than anyone in my family. Most of my family is left. And
that's interesting that you said Republican and left, though.
Well, yeah,
you didn't say Republican, Democrat. You didn't say right and left. You said Republican and left.
Right.
It's interesting. Right. I'm not busting your balls. I just think that's interesting. Little subconscious. Yeah. That means something that I'm not smart enough to dig into.
Right. So, but I mean, I'll fully admit, when I first, when I was being raised, I really had I felt like I was more thinking on the right. Very, very Christian, very Lutheran,
conservative.
Just everything was just
specifically when you say Lutheran.
Yeah.
Then I go, oh, conservative.
Yes, it is.
Because Christian doesn't mean anything. Right. It really doesn't.
Lutheran
goes, because I went to a Lutheran boarding school.
Me too.
And I got punished for dancing. And that's
extreme.
That's when I understood the difference of the denominations, because I was raised, even though we're not from the South.
Wisconsin
yes.
Synod?
Yes.
Had to been. Yeah, I was going to say, because I was Missouri Synod, and my first dance ever with a
How'd you know Wisconsin, though?
Because I know this.
So you get it. So there's some deep.
I know this shit.
I don't think this is interesting enough for anyone at all to go deep inside baseball on, but there is some really weird inner politics within the denominations of Christianities.
Yep.
And so when you said Lutheran, I went, oh, so you mean like deep conservative.
Yep.
Interesting. And you knew Wisconsin. When I said dancing, you knew Wisconsin, like some footloose shit.
Yep. That's Wisconsin Synod. Missouri Synod is not far behind. However, my first dance ever was at Lutheran High School in Bloomington with a girl named Pam, who was not tough to look at.
Nice.
So I totally just
So you had a full-blown erection the entire time.
I think it was in 7th grade. And what it was is we were junior high.
Oh, it's 7th grade?
Dude, yeah.
So every boy had a full-blown erection the entire time.
we were junior high age, and we're trying, and the whole purpose of this visit was to go from our Lutheran K through 8th grade into Lutheran high school. And it was just a whole big, like, this is what it's like. Here we have fun, blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget that dance. I'll never forget it.
What does synod mean?
I don't know. It's Wisconsin Synod, just like you were saying, denomination. I think it's another word for it. Wisconsin Synod, Missouri Synod, and then there's ELCA, which is probably out of all.
But I was in Wisconsin. So you're saying Missouri is not like, you didn't go to boarding school in Missouri.
No, but we were called Missouri Synod.
Gotcha. Okay. So it might be a coincidence that I was physically in Wisconsin at boarding school and we were under the Wisconsin Synod. Because it sounds to me synod is like
sounds like a perfect setup for a nightmare of like,
it sounds like it's like synod means train of thought.
Yeah. Yep. We have a little bit of different train of thought and set of rules that we think the way we interpret this section of the Bible. And then same thing with Missouri, and which I consider Missouri to be kind of in the middle of the two. And ELCA is the most liberal of all of them. So, because the ELCA is the one, if you see like,
what is ELCA? What is ELCA?
Evangelical Lutheran.
Oh, it's the name of your school?
No. It's the name of a synod.
See, this is where I get confused. Okay,
it's a name of a school of thought in the Lutheran realm.
So it's like further specifying the idea of a denomination. So like, because a denomination, for anyone that's confused, is like it's like a version. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's like a slightly more specific. It's you know what a denomination is? A denomination is when politics got involved with Scripture. So we both read the same Bible verse, but you interpret it one way and I interpret it another way.
Bingo.
Right?
That's exactly what it is.
Right? So it's like we're both quote unquote Christians or Jews or Muslims, but you interpret it one way and I interpret it another way. So whether you're liberal or conservative on how you define that Scripture phrase,
right,
immediately diverts us into two groups.
Yep. And
then those groups are further defined, and that's how you get a denomination, like a Lutheran versus a Baptist versus a Protestant. But then you can further, I think is what I'm understanding, is you can further define that and get even more specific with synods. So you can both be Christians, you can both be Lutherans, but I'm of the more Wisconsin Synod and you're more of the Missouri Synod.
Yeah, sure.
And that wasn't something we chose. That was something that was forced on us through education.
Exactly. And upbringing and whatever. And I think so the ELCA, that one allows female pastors, allows gay people to be in the Lutheran religion.
Oh yeah, no, like my Metallica books got burned.
Yeah, no, that's was
like my Metallica books got burned at boarding school.
Hang on, I just got a message here trying to explain it to me.
Oh, somebody's direct messaging you?
Yeah,
man.
All over this.
Thank God for intuitive. Thank God for intuitive listeners that know to chime in.
We go.
When we don't know what we're talking about.
It's my friend Jan.
But I also got to give you shit
evangelical
for leaving
Lutheran.
Your stuff on.
It was on my watch.
I know. That's the thing. Is like in this case,
Lutheran
it's good.
Church in America. Yep, she's right. ELCA.
Evangelical Church. Living in America?
Lutheran.
Oh, yeah. Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Of America.
Yep, and that's,
of America.
She said that's where she went. So yeah, it was called ELCA. I knew it was Evangelical Lutheran something or other. Anyway. So yeah, I feel like that's the most, if you're going to go that route, that's probably the most liberal of all of them.
Don't. But don't.
I mean, whatever.
Even as somebody who still identifies as a Christian, do not send your kid to a Christian boarding school. If you want them to be exposed to drugs and possibly being molested and some really dark shit, including Satan worshiping, then definitely send your kid to a Christian boarding school.
True story.
That's my advice.
That was my
If you want the exact opposite of what you intend, then definitely send your kid to a Christian boarding school.
Never in a million years imagine that I would have this conversation. I had friends in my Missouri Synod school that read the Satanic Bible, and they'd read verses to me. Dude, I'm in 7th grade, and they're reading verses from the Satanic Bible to me. And they're like, what do you have to say now, Christian?
Yeah.
Like shit like that. It was crazy.
And the only reason I never fell for that satanic church shit is because I took enough mushrooms young enough. I took enough mushrooms and acid young enough, like literally 15, 16 years old, and had seen a couple seances in real life and like some head twisting shit
Wow.
like shit movies are written about.
I didn't see that until I went to a Behemoth
where it was
concert.
like, this has got to be an orchestrated prank. There's got to be a member of the room of my boarding school. There's got to be somebody that I don't know that's missing flipping the lights. There's got to be somebody outside with a wind turbine, and somebody has implanted triggers in these windows to get them to open and shut like this. Like, that's how insane it was. It was like, I'm on a movie set and I'm being pranked. This is way before Punk'd, you know what I mean? Or any of those TV shows like that. It was like, that's how absurd the shit I seen was. And then on top of that, I also studied Buddhism. So I was able to understand,
cool.
I was able to understand specifically the correlation between those two religions, which is like indulging and worshiping self.
Yeah.
And so when I started hearing about that Satan shit, that Satan church shit, I was like, oh, I see what y'all are doing here. Ah, got it. This is just another version of something to keep you off the path of enlightenment. Because as much as I want to identify as a Christian nowadays, like, that's not the right word for it, man. Like, yes, I believe in the teachings of Christ. Yes, I believe Christ is like a holy person who really was something more than just a normal dude, right? But the Christian church, I believe, is one of the most disgusting and perverted things on the planet. I believe if Jesus were here today, he would rebel against the Christian church the same way he rebelled against the Jewish synagogues back then. I think it's an institution that was created by man surrounding the idea of God that is completely monetized, businessized, and politicized, and made it into a disgusting thing that does nothing more than control people based on fear and guilt, which is the exact opposite of what Jesus taught. So I become disgusted when we talk about modern Christianity, but I still say I'm a Christian because there's no other way to explain it. But my real path is seeking enlightenment, right? And understanding what God is. And I believe, this is what I really believe, John. And we kind of touched on this on the last podcast too, which is why I'm so willing to talk to you about this now. Because I'm not, again, I don't invite you guys on to preach. I don't invite you guys on to make you uncomfortable. So when you were on the first time and you were kind of interested in this, I was like, okay, that's something we could go and do the second time, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I believe. There's something that the Jews used to say, and something that Christ confronted the Pharisees on. He said, they condemned him because they said, you said you're the Son of God. That's blasphemy. And he said, do you not call yourself gods? If you call yourself gods, how am I blaspheming by saying I'm the Son of God? And is what he meant by that is the Pharisees accurately read in the Bible that when Adam and Eve ate from the tree, God came to the Garden of Eden, and it's auspicious. If you go back and read this quote, it's very auspicious. He says, they are now like us. They now know the difference between good and evil. They are now gods as well.
This is in Genesis?
Yeah. Every version of the Bible. He speaks about us to someone else. There's someone else in the Garden of Eden. God is talking to someone else other than us. And he says they are now gods like us. They now understand the difference of good and evil. And then he goes on to banish us from the garden and so on and so forth. Well, I think that's
Genesis.
I think that's a misinterpretation, right?
Yeah.
So I think the way the Pharisees turned around and said, "Oh, we are gods," because that's what it says in the Bible. No. I think here's what I think's happening: is I think there's some weird miscommunication between Buddhism and Christianity and all this other shit, and we are not individual gods. Like, that Donnie and Marie shit, like their version. I think they're Mormons. But their version of it is like when they die, each one of them becomes a god of their own planet, right? Like, come on. Like, this isn't a fucking comic book.
Right.
Here's what I think. I think it's much closer to Buddhism.
That's the
Buddhism
shit. That can't be right.
Buddhism believes that you and I are nothing more than floating atoms living in the potential fingernail of God, right? So, like, you and I are blood cells and fucking literal atoms floating around in a being that's growing.
I didn't know it went that far.
Yeah, so that's kind of what they believe. So they don't really worship a god.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's why it's not really it's not a religion. It's a path to enlightenment.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't think it went to an anatomic level.
Essentially, I mean, I'm a little paraphrasing here, but that's basically kind of what they think is like we are all but merely, I think the way I read the quote, and it's been translated, you know, I don't fucking read whatever the fuck language the samana. I studied the samanas, which if you don't know what the samanas are and you think I'm being wrong, then you're wrong. Because if you don't know what the samanas are and you think you know about Buddhism, just shut the fuck up and listen. So the samanas are the guys who basically founded Buddhism. The samanas were a bunch of vagabonds, right, who sought enlightenment through suffering, very specifically. So through starvation, through detaching from earthly possessions and earthly means, things like that. And the samanas are directly responsible for Buddhism. They are the first Buddhas. And the main first original samana at the culmination of these tales and stories is the first Buddha. They have such a deep correlation with the true teachings of Christ that it is legitimately fucking scary to read. And so you quickly realize if you do enough hallucinogens in this world, mushrooms or acid, or you study the samanas, or you go deep into the texts of the samanas or Judaism, I think they're correlating on something similar. And so where I'm going with this is I don't believe that we're all just an atom in the fingernail of God. I don't think we're all gods. I think when we all die, okay, and each one of us through time and space has reached enlightenment, our soul finally leaves this earth of repetition and we go back to the collective and we are God, John. Not I'm God and you're God, and we all came from the same place, but we're all going to end up at a different place like the Mormons. We all get to rule our own planet. No. Like, the universe is constantly recycling everything, including the literal shit that makes our bodies and I think our souls. And the difference is I think we created that. I think we are God. And we, for some reason, got shattered like a piece of glass into an infinite number of pieces across space and time. And as each one of us understand where we came from, we return back to the source. And so someday, sometime, we're all going to be both at the beginning and at the end. And is what really fucks me up is I'm pretty sure we're already there right now. So like, I'm being born right now in another version of space and time. I just died in another version. I'm having this conversation with you. And the only reason any of these lives are happening is because that version of me in space and time hasn't reached enlightenment. So once my soul reaches enlightenment, whether I'm in 1908 or I'm in 3022, when I finally reach enlightenment through space and time, I die and go back to the collective. And the fucked up part is I'm already there. The only difference is I'm also still here because I still haven't found that enlightenment. And so, like, my grandpa could still be here. You know what I mean? Or he's up there waiting for me. And I think too many religions have tried to specify the definition of that and the route to get there. And that's why we not only have different religions, but we have different denominations. And something you just told me about tonight that I didn't even know about, which is called a synod. And I think all of these things, unfortunately, are actually getting us farther from whatever God wanted us to do or know, instead of this arrogant idea that, like, no, we are the only ones with the knowledge and the rest of you are going to hell. Oh, that's the shit that fucks me up, dude, is the condemnation.
Yep.
Because, dude, like, here's the thing is, like, I said this on a couple podcasts recently, and I'm going to say it again. If you're sitting here listening to this right now, and you're judging someone on Facebook, I just talked about how many people have you put on snooze lately? That's all you should be doing. Because if you're doing anything more than putting somebody on snooze, if you're defriending them or judging them or condemning them.
I had to defriend a couple people.
Fine. But here's the deal. If you're doing that, not because you had to or because it was just hard to listen to, but if you're doing that because if you think that person's bad or less than you, so I'm not calling you out right now. Your motives may be different. But if your motives are what I'm talking about, because you find what that person is asking or saying to be intolerant of your values,
You are in fact intolerant yourself.
Or, actually, no, that is true. There's no or. I was going to say, let me do this first. Give me your cell phone and let me look through your porn history. And then let me decide if you get to go cancel people.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Just give the world a crack at your porn search history, and then you should have the right to cancel somebody or defriend them or tell them they shouldn't have the right to speak their mind.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if I look in your fucking porn history, I don't care who you are, there's something in there you want to hide. There's something in there you know is fucked up. And there's a lot of shit on Pornhub. Trust me, I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
I'm waiting for Pornhub too.
I've seen so much Pornhub, I contemplated signing up for the premium subscription. That's actually not true, but you get my point. You get my point. Like, and again, going back to the religion thing, like, dude, there's so many fucking, name your religion. There's some version of he who's free of sin.
Yep.
Throw the first stone.
Yep.
You know, live in a glass house, probably don't want to throw stones. That kind of shit. Like, you ain't perfect. And that's what I've always known, but I'm growing more appreciative as I grow older, is when people are like, I'm like, this dude's a fucking bad person. I got to back up and go, wait a minute. So are you, dude.
Right.
Jared's also a piece of shit.
Right.
That's tough. That's a tough thing to play.
I guess the way you go into it is way more in depth than I've ever thought or cared to think about it, I guess. And that's,
I'm going to take that as a compliment,
it's
bro.
It's amazing, dude. Like, your thought of the enlightenment path and where we're at with time and space. Like, I always thought of it maybe as the multiverse. I made this decision, but I'm going to go on and I live in this part. And then that separates. And, you know, I kind of...
I think that's true too.
I can think about the multiverse. I think, well, because I think that's kind of what you said. And
yeah, and when people go, well, how do you have free will if God understands what's going to happen? And it's because God isn't a dude. It's all of us in every version of our possible outcomes, looking at everything after death, trying to recommunicate this information to us through space and time. So when God reaches out to you, it's just another version of you saying, dude, you've been here before. You know not to make this mistake, because there's a trillion multiverse versions of John that have lived and died in this moment. And we're trying to tell you every version of how this comes out. Every version. It's not that God knows what you're going to do. It's God, which is us, knows every version of every possibility you can choose. And we've already seen it happen, because fucking space and time are relative. They are not fixed or linear like we perceive them.
Correct.
Not trying to break your brain.
Nope. You kind of are. You're making me think of different things that I've never thought of, because I guess for me, I've just reserved myself to the fact that humans cannot possibly know or understand what is greater than us. Like, what is out there, why we are here, what's after. I believe in an energy. We can't be stopped. An energy cannot be killed. It either gets greater or slows down. So therefore, I guess I don't subscribe to the idea of one religion. So when people get uppity, so when you were talking about the people on Facebook, you know, they're Trump is this and that and that and that because God says and this and that and our Lord, and what about this? You know, when you bring religion into it, and that's your sole reason for following that, it bugs me, because exactly what you said earlier. How are you the right religion?
Right.
My wife is Jewish. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in Jesus. Do I believe?
Some of them do. That's the fucked up
Yeah,
part.
well,
It's like
there's a
not
Jew-
even all Jews
Yeah,
deny
there's-
Jesus.
Right,
Like
there's the Jews
there's
for Jesus.
yeah,
thing,
there's the
but let's
messianic
just-
Jews. So it's
but
like
let's just say
right there though, we're starting off on a misnomer that all Jews think alike. So right there, we're putting all Jews in one category.
You're
when
right.
again, not even that one religion. All this is, and I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just
Yeah.
adding like we can't even make a point
Right.
without generalizing an entire group of people inaccurately. That's how hard it is to have this conversation.
It is. You're absolutely right, and so I guess where I'm going with this is that I'll just I'll clarify, I guess.
And we got time.
traditional-
Unless you're in a hurry, we got time, man.
No,
So I'm not trying to rush you through it.
the traditional Jewish religion.
I feel like we're just getting to the good part of the
right.
podcast.
No, so my grandmother-in-law passed away on January 6th of this year, and she was
God, I think my aunt died on the same
one
day.
of the most kindest souls I've ever met in my life. Like, there was something so gentle, so wonderful about her, and we mourn her death, but she was 95 years old. She lived a wonderful, great, and just an exciting life, I guess, that it may not be exciting that she passed away in an apartment in St. Louis Park, but dude, where she came from, she was in Moldova, she was in Romania, in Russia. She traveled all these places, persecuted by Nazis, and lived through all that shit, and then went to Russia, and then tried to establish a family there, and then they didn't, like, Jewish people were still being persecuted there, moved to the United States because that wasn't happening as much. Like, think about that life, that you have to make a whole decision where you're moving to an entirely different country,
just trying to live,
and,
like
and do right by your family.
Like, I have a hard time contemplating the idea of moving to Texas with my wife, because I'm like, and I don't even have a great relationship with my family. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I go like this.
I do
but
with
I go,
my family, but
I go, fuck, man. Like, at least I still have the option of seeing my mom and stepdad and brother and real dad and all my sisters. I have 3 sisters and I have 2 other twin brothers. So, like, we may not be on the best terms every single day, but it's still an option. They're right there. Like, all they got to do is call me, right?
Yep.
Like, I feel like I've been wronged. So all they got to do is call me and say, I'm sorry, and come see me. I'm 20 minutes away or 45 minutes away, or I could bite the bullet and quote unquote be the bigger man and go up there. It's 45 minutes. But if I'm in Texas, now it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There's another hurdle. Imagine moving across the world to another country,
exactly, and
where all of these fears are irrelevant, because the fear you're fleeing is so compelling. You're willing to move somewhere where you can't even talk to your neighbor. Everything else is so fucking bad. You're willing to be technically alone and not be able to communicate with even your neighbor.
My wife told me that when she moved to the United States, she first went into they came into New York, and she did not speak a word of English.
I remember when you guys met and first started dating.
Right, yeah.
It was hilarious and beautiful, and like it's we should write a movie about it someday. It should come out of that Area 52 era, because that's when I met her.
She was part of that era. Yeah,
I know.
I brought her there.
I know.
Yeah.
And Dave met his Irish wife.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, she's cool too.
Like I remember. Do you remember? I
She got
accused.
lucky. She speaks the language though.
Do you remember me asking the two of you face to face? We were standing at Dave's bar, and I asked you, "So, which mail order bride service did you guys use?"
I do.
Do you remember that?
Well, but I've heard that joke 100 times.
But
you hear Russian wife. Of
I
course
know,
you
but
hear-
he had an Irish immigrant wife, and you had, neither one of you were married. You had just met them and started dating them, and I just, and you both were standing there, and I just remember being the first dude in the room to put it all together, and I just remember going, "So which mail order bride service did you guys use?" And you both looked at me and each other, and you looked at each other like, "Holy shit, we both have immigrant girlfriends."
Yeah.
Like, Oh my God. And then it became a shtick.
Yeah.
But I was the first guy at Area 52. I just remember that 17 years old, not even old enough to drink. None of you knew I was underage. None of you knew. You all thought I was like 22.
Yeah.
I'm 17. And I go, so which mail order bride service did you two fucks use? And you two looked at me and looked at each other. And it was like we had this brief moment before you guys got mad and realized how funny and ironic that situation was.
damn.
You're like, holy shit, this does look like we both fucking ordered wives from the same service.
I get that question a lot too. Like, where did you meet your wife? Oh, I'll tell them straight up. The first thing that comes in my out of my mouth, I'm like, RussianWives.com.
Where did you guys meet? Did you meet
MySpace.
online?
Yeah.
So you did meet online.
Yeah, it was MySpace, and then we met in person at a show at Route 47 back when it was
Pickle Park.
the main event.
Oh, main event before Pickle Park. How did she end up in Minnesota?
So
I'm more fascinated by how immigrants end up in Minnesota than how they ended up into our country. Like, it's pretty easy to imagine why you'd come to America. Like, name the 30,000 cliche reasons, right?
Right.
But why on fucking God's green earth do you pick Minnesota?
And this is what's funny is, so in the USSR, my wife lived in Moldova.
Shout out to Irene, by the way.
Yeah, shout out
beautiful
to her.
lady.
So she lived in Moldova, like basically grew up there, and that's where
anyone who's confused, please explain where Moldova is.
It's kind of like in the USSR. If you consider the USSR, it's not technically Russia. It's south
dude,
by
USSR ended in like 1993, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So no one who's listening to this podcast, other than the 40-year-olds,
People are
know
go,
what USSR is.
Okay,
like,
so my wife was born in Romania, and
is that currently a country?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because Google only does current shit.
Is that still a country?
You know, like every 4 years, that Eastern European shit's flipping back and forth.
You're not wrong. Because
we grew up with. Yeah, keep going.
The border of where Moldova and Romania is like keeps flipping every 4 years.
Yeah, and it's literally like, okay, who won the last battle and where did we place the Google Map satellite that day?
Yeah, it's silly. So back in the USSR, right? She lived. It's south, kind of. It's. No, yeah.
That was it.
Oh, that was it.
That was it.
All right, it's below Ukraine. By the Black Sea.
Gotcha.
And
the Ukrainians hate the Russians.
No, they don't.
No, they do. I know Ukrainian immigrants.
But I
was in
Ukrainian
a band with
people too, and they're like, yeah, we're friends.
Oh, so they're not refugees then, that's why. It depends on when they came here. That's
got to be it.
Yep. Yeah, because
I've known
these
some
motherfuckers,
heavy accent Ukrainians, like, oh, I speak Russian too.
Yeah, these dudes sound Russian. That's how heavy their accent is. And if you call them Russian, they will kill you. They'll give you one chance. They'll be like, I am not Russian, I'm Ukrainian. And if you be like, whatever, Rusky, like, you're going to the hospital that night. These dudes do not fuck around.
That's weird.
Because they fled communist Russia.
Yeah, of course.
Like still to this day. Like, their mission is to end Russia. Like, people do not understand.
Today that makes sense because Vladimir Putin is still trying to make his way into the Ukraine. So, like,
that's what I'm getting at, man. Like, this shit every 4 weeks it changes. Like, it's so dramatic, dude. We think it's bad in America.
Crimea River.
It's so easy here. Even in 2021, it's still easy. Oh, we just finally had somebody storm the Capitol. It only took 260 years of being a country. Cool. Yeah. We're still doing really well. That shit happens every other week in most countries. Like, there's 7 countries in the world where that's not a regular occurrence. We're still one of them. We're still okay. Like, these countries you're talking about have coups every 9 weeks.
True story.
every 9 weeks, there's a different dictator in power.
That's true. That's so true. But anyway, she came to Minnesota. Fuck. God, that's funny. Flew to New York as they all do. Moved to LA because they had family there. My wife's mom hated and was terrified of earthquakes. Had friends that moved to Minnesota for God knows whatever reason, but that's why she ended up in Minnesota, was because of
Weather.
Friends of the family. But no, that's the thing, is the weather is in Moldova. We're talking by the Black Sea.
No, I don't mean like to get away from snow. I mean to get away from cataclysmic weather, hurricanes, earthquakes, shit like that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because she did not grow up with tons of snow all the freaking time.
Right. But it's
she was
safe.
in south.
See, and this is what
by the Black Sea.
This is why I tell Kate, like, zombie apocalypse, there's only 2 places we're surviving: Minnesota or Texas.
True story.
Like in Texas, there's enough guns, enough open land, and enough people. Yep. Like we can still survive.
Right.
Okay. But in Minnesota, we have an unlimited amount of fresh water. We rarely have tornadoes. We have 0 hurricanes. Right. Like Iowa is far enough south where they get inland hurricanes. They just got a derecho.
Yep. They just got it. Yeah.
They just got one. But Minnesota doesn't.
Nope.
And we have enough fresh water here where it's a non-issue forever. And if it's the zombie apocalypse, like zombies slow down. You know, they freeze in the winter. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, right.
There's less shit that can kill you in the winter.
True.
Like it's
very
so
true.
easy to survive in Minnesota. You just have to stay warm through the winter.
Right.
That's the only challenge is heat.
Yep.
That's it. We don't even have very many like deadly predators, venomous snakes or spiders, or
that.
we got cougars, and we have both brown and black bear. They do both exist. I don't want to fucking hear that they don't. It's every single time I say this, one of you rips me online, and then 3 weeks later, a cougar kills somebody in fucking northeast Minneapolis.
Yeah, I was gonna say cougars totally exist in Minnesota,
and they make it into the cities.
My wife's one of them.
And they does a cougar have to be a mom, or is she just above 35?
Just above 35 and still smoking.
Then I got a cougar.
Yeah.
God damn it!
I got a cougar.
Now I got to worry about her preying on young, vulnerable dudes. That's the problem. Is if the music and the podcast keep going, eventually I'm not going to be home very often. But I did give my permission. I did give my wife permission. I said, if things get really bad, you know, and you need like a little Latin pool boy named Miguel or Alejandro, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
like,
Alejandro.
But he has to have a smaller dick than me, which is, you got a wide window there.
Yeah.
It's not like I got a 4-incher. You got a lot of options when I say the dick's got to be smaller than mine. You have a lot of options there. There's several inches to choose from. But I told her, I said, no actual relationships and no secret babies. That was the deal I made with my wife.
Yeah.
But I said, if I'm gone too much and need a little side action, or if I'm too old and I can't get it up, you can get yourself a little pool boy, Alejandro. I said, just make sure I'm out of town and I don't know what's going on. Right. I don't ever want to know. I don't ever want to walk in. I don't want to ever find a fucking sock with the Mexican flag under my bed.
Ignorance is bliss.
I don't want to know. And this can only ever happen when I'm too old to do my job.
Right.
Or I'm not here enough.
Yeah. Or that. Yeah. Something.
Because at some point in time, it becomes more about the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, listen, I'm 55 years old. Like, I can't give you the needs you need anymore. Like, that blue pill shit is going to give me a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain equation that shows up in a man's life where it's like, do you care about keeping your family together and keeping your kids happy? Or do you care about your own individual ego? Because you can't fuck your wife anymore without dying. Do you really want her to just leave and go get another douchebag? Or do you want her to fucking at least keep the family together?
Yep.
And you fucking keep your ego in check, and she doesn't rub it in your face. She gets a little dick. I'm taking the latter, and I have the biggest ego. Like, I just confronted my boy Johnny on the podcast when he was like, "Oh yeah," and Joe Strummer asked me if he could fuck my girlfriend, and I was like, "What did you say?" And he's like, "Yeah, go for it." And I was like, "Really?" Because if James Hetfield asked me if he could fuck my girlfriend, I'd ask him like, "Dude, I'm a huge fan, but let me ask you, do you want to fucking die tonight, bro?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to fucking die tonight, dude?
Yeah. I've had those moments. Yeah.
But if I'm 55 to 85 and my health is at risk to get an erection and do my job, then, you know, I told her I'd rather keep our kids safe, healthy, and happy than you try to fucking pretend you are going to actually be emotionally happy with some 25-year-old with a hard dick.
So my wife is older than I am, but you'd never guess it.
You're also in a different health class than I am. You're a currently active, regular performing drummer. If this were 5 years ago and I was still doing that, it'd be a different story.
Could be.
People don't respect how in shape a drummer is. By the way, here's a piece of advice. Never, ever fight the drummer of a band. If you're going to fight a band member, don't fight the drummer. Pick any other member, but not the drummer.
Just not him. Yeah.
Don't do it.
So
he'll murder you.
My
literally, I'm not even if he doesn't even have to know how to fight. He'll fuck you up.
Yep.
Just from the
arms.
the pure endurance,
Yeah,
the legs,
endurance, exactly.
the core strength from sitting perfectly upright to not develop a bad back. The fucking the muscle endurance, the strength endurance. I don't need to lift 50 pounds 100 times. All I need to do is punch you in the face like a rabbit.
That's what
Blast beast on someone's face and watch how fast you win that fight.
I did that once.
And you time the bounce of their head off the pavement.
I remember Jeremy Blake actually said that. He's like, "Remind me not to fuck with you." And he's way bigger than I am. And he was like, "You just punched that dude like rabbit style. That was ridiculous." Because I was like,
dude, and the ability for you to like go 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
And this
you can paradiddle on someone's cheekbones.
This was a bar fight. This was a dude that hit my girlfriend at the time in the face, and I was just like, "Fuck you," you know, and just lost my shit and tripped him, and got him on the ground on top of him. I just rabbit punched his face. So.
I learned that lesson before I was a drummer. Actually, no, I had just become a drummer. I wasn't even very good yet. Like, I was 6 months in. Already started a band though, because you know me, I'm arrogant. I'll be like, "Let's start a band. I'm gonna switch instruments." Like, "Oh, how long have you been playing drums?" Never.
5 minutes.
Yep. But I'm gonna figure it out. That's me. I'm such an asshole. I'm just lucky enough I get away with it most times.
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna start a podcast." "Oh, really? Have you ever done that before?" "Nope." "Do you have like some sort of audio or video engineering background?" "Nope."
Hey man, you got to figure it out. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's what I do. Even if it's not that great, but that's what I do. And I'm hanging out with this other guy, and we got this rock band going. I think we played 1 or 2 shows, and I think his name was Adrian, and I hang out with him. I'm down at Mazelax, and we sit in a booth, and he tells me a story about how he got his ass kicked by Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
No way.
Yeah, back in 1987, 88. This is like Justice era. And he's at a concert, and he's, 8 to 12 rows in, but front row, or center stage, I mean. And he throws a beer bottle up on stage, and it goes right, cracks Lars Ulrich right in the fucking skull. And Lars stops the show, Sebastian Bach style, and says, "Who fucking threw that?" And of course, the crowd spreads and everyone points at him. And Lars Ulrich, and they'd already been playing for an hour. They're mid-set. They're an hour deep. But you have a cocaine-riddled, fully athletic, in the prime of his life, Lars Ulrich, come off stage with not only the natural adrenaline that fuels you through a live show,
but cocaine.
but anger and rage
That too.
from being hit by a beer bottle.
Yeah.
And this dude, Adrian, told me, he's like, dude, Lars jumped off stage and fucking kicked my ass so badly. I became a fan of that band that night.
That's kind of awesome.
I know, right? Isn't that the coolest story ever? He's like, literally, I didn't like Metallica. That's why I thought they sucked, and I threw that beer bottle on stage. That dude kicked my fucking ass because he's like, I was a punk rocker. I thought they were pussies.
Ah, that makes so
and
much
he's
more
like,
sense.
he jumped off stage and kicked
thing.
the fucking shit out of me. I immediately became a fan that night. And if I remember correctly, something happened where they were able to shake hands at the end of it. And Lars invited him backstage, and like he got to hang out with him and shit.
Damn.
That's how fights used to end.
Yeah.
Like, if I kick your ass, if I win the fight, then I have to buy you a beer.
Yeah.
That's how the rules were when we grew up. We talked about this earlier. We grew up in an age before MySpace and texting and all that.
Yep.
And we grew up in a time where now this is the standard. And I feel like we've just done a loop. So as confused as we were in high school where kids don't know what to do, and it's like, we'll start a band. You just start playing shows. Like, that's what kids think now. You just start a YouTube channel. You just start making videos, which is actually very true. But there's so many nuances on how to do it. Our generation is just a bunch of kids again. You and I at 30 to 40, 35 to 45, our generation,
yep.
35 to 45, are basically 15. The technology has made us teenagers. And we just don't know what we're doing. We have no idea. But there's 21-year-old kids coming out of college that look at this thing like a fucking... You remember those old road atlases that we'd look at on road trips? Yeah. We could go across the country in a book.
Yep.
Hey, there's a road coming up here called 96. I can see this here. If we take this and we go east about 100 miles, and then you'd flip like 4 pages.
Right, yeah.
And you'd go, yep, then we can catch it north here. And then, yep, and we'll actually save about 20 minutes. We did that in a book.
Yep.
And then phones came out and told us, hey, take a right here. It'll save you 20 minutes. And we're like, this is easier.
Tom-toms.
This is easier, which it is.
Yeah.
However, we didn't get the GPS version of how to take your band from passing out flyers in front of First Avenue to succeeding on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
Which now, think about it. When we were around back then, it didn't matter how good your band was. If you weren't out passing flyers, playing the game, promoting, pounding the pavement, as we called it,
we did.
You would not succeed.
Yep.
Why? Because there was too many bands out there that were doing it. That is the metaphor for the YouTube and the social media shit. Like, there's too many bands out here doing it that if you don't, it doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to get lost in the shuffle. Even if you're not trying to make it famous and quit your day job, if you even want to make this thing to where it doesn't cost you money to do anymore, then you should still figure out how to do this online.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I learned this, and this is a perfect segue into the last thing I want to talk to you about. There's something else we touched on last time, and we can kind of wrap up our third hour here.
Yeah, we're coming up on 3.
Yeah. I learned this recent wisdom from a comedian. Go ahead.
1 sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we skipped a story real quick. When you were talking about the girlfriend thing and like the band, whatever.
Okay.
This just reminded me. My wife and I, we were on a friend of mine was the tour manager for Gwar, and Dave Brocky at the time was definitely showing interest in my wife at the time.
Irene?
Yeah, and girlfriend.
So she wasn't your wife at the time, right?
And so what was funny about what you said was like, do you want to die tonight? You know, like that
yeah.
thing. Dude, I had that moment with Dave Brocky. He was so like into Irene. I was just like, dude, this is creeping me out. Like, this is not cool. And Irene goes to the bathroom, and then she looked at me and wanted me to go to the bathroom with her. We're in the dressing room, totally had sex. And when I went on tour afterwards, when Beefcake, the Beefcake of Gwar at that time, when he was in a band called Mobile Death Camp, I'll never forget, we met up in Detroit, and he goes, which one of you were having sex in my bathroom? I was like, that was me.
You proudly
I was so
jumped
proud.
up.
And this dude's like 7 feet tall. And I'm just like, that was me. That was awesome.
But you gotta be willing in that moment.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh really? Why do you think you can fuck in my bathroom? And you could be like, because you were trying to fuck my girl in front of me.
So awesome.
You
dude.
little bitch.
It was one of the greatest moments of my life. I'm just like,
And just
Anyway.
look at him and
Yep.
just look at him
Yeah.
and just wait for him
Yeah.
to just like,
what?
yeah. Dude, because there's nothing more that will fuck with a big dude than someone who's smaller than them, who's completely willing to stand up to him and show no fear.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, it's like a they're like, I'm not used to this. Like, what does this little fuck have up his sleeve that he's not intimidated like everyone else? Okay, maybe I need to worry about this little guy. You know, like it's so weird when you're that big, you get challenged so rarely.
In a friendly way, though, he did grab me and gave me the old school.
Yeah, and that's
I
what.
don't know.
Yeah,
That's,
that's
definitely
cool.
age
Do that.
thing. It was.
Do that.
It was funny.
Do
he
that.
was funny about it.
And then I grab your nuts and
yeah,
I twist.
He was so cool about it.
That's my favorite
afterwards.
part is like guys try to do those big guys.
Yeah.
They try to fuck with you and like,
Yeah.
okay, you got me, but guess
Right.
what? I can still kill you.
Right,
And then you just
exactly.
grab their dick and you go, no,
Exactly.
no, I can still ruin your future. Like, dude, stop.
I didn't get that far, but yeah, dude, you're totally right. Just the fact that he was cool about it.
Yeah,
just
he's
wraps
like,
me in
oh,
his-
you
I
got
can still
me.
murder you.
Yeah, you got me. Like, you could still die tonight and be like, yeah, and so could your future children.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
your fucking hands off me.
I think he must have had his legs crossed or something.
Right?
He knew it was coming.
Yeah, they do. Is what you do is you grab them on this side and then you step forward.
Yep.
So your dick's way over
Yeah,
here.
it's exactly what I think when he had it come. He was like, yeah, you're not getting me.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I remember your type.
So cute.
Well, listen,
You
man.
under 6 feet people.
I was going to segue this into comparisons with comedy, but I don't remember where I was going with it. So,
Well, shit.
do you want to just wrap it up or do you want to keep going for a little bit? We haven't even gone for a full 3 hours, but we're coming close. And I'm not in a rush, so it's up to you, dude.
We should wrap it up because I need to work in the morning.
Okay. Where can people follow you?
At
It's John
John
_ Gensmer at what?
John underscore Gensmer for Instagram, and then John Gensmer Drums, all one word, on
That's what
Facebook.
It is. That's what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe. You have no idea how much it means to us. I'm serious. Let's start the YouTube thing. Let's get you. You're already doing videos. I see them on Facebook. You already do the damn thing. Let's just start doing specific quick ones and throw them on YouTube.
That sounds great. I'm gonna run one by you because I actually just did. I recorded one where I'm cleaning cymbals. I know it sounds mundane.
No,
and
it's
boring,
perfect. Let's
but
talk about it.
so many
I'll
drummers
hit
are
the
like,
outro and we'll play it on the way out, dude. Or we'll talk on the way out. I'll
Right
play
on.
the outro. They won't hear, but yeah. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe. You don't know how much it helps. We're gonna get your shit up and running. Cleaning cymbals. Remind me in 3, 2.